All right, so I guess we'll start the show so we can talk about the Danny's porn.
Mm-hmm.
He just wishes he started it. I have to find this article.
All right, welcome to episode 215 of the Linux Lugcast. We're an open podcast /lug that meets at 9 p.m. Eastern every first and third Friday of the month using Mumble. We encourage anyone listening to join us live during the show. You can check out, if you want to join us, you can check out LinuxLugcast.com for the server details. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to discuss and are unable to join us live during the show, you can send us an email at feedback@linuxlugcast.com. We have a MeWe page, which I'm guessing nobody is looking at, which we might just pull off this list because nobody's looking at. And we have a Reddit where we like to post things as kind of a saving spot for things that we like to talk about during the show. So if there's something you want us to talk about on the show, post it in the Reddit. There's a good chance we're going to talk about it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we also have a YouTube channel where Danny posts the video version of this, where it's basically a bunch of boxes of us sitting here talking. Hello. And then we also have a Danny hosts his own PeerTube channel where you can watch this as well. So hi, I'm Honky Magoo, your host for this evening. With us tonight is RC. Is that how you wanted to be pronounced? RC?
Like RC
Yeah, that
Cola.
works out.
Like
Yes.
RC Cola.
Yes. Or RC the Transformer. That's actually where the name comes from.
Oh, okay. You say hello. Hello. All right. Hopper?
Hopper MCS here.
Joe?
That's me.
Lovecraft?
Good evening, everyone.
Minnix?
Hi, guys.
Morton C?
Hello.
Netminer?
Hello, folks.
And hanging out listening is Origami and Cherry Hill Tony.
Hey, guys. Glad you can make it.
All right. So, as usual, when we start off the show, we start off with the movie that we all decided to watch together.
In the same room.
And luckily we did not watch it all at the
room.
same time.
At the same time.
We're all going to blame Danny for this.
We all held hands and watched it with our shirts off.
Held hand.
Shirts off, yes. The shirt was off.
That's the only way to watch it.
Uh-huh.
So I'll give a little...
The name of the movie, of course, was Robotrix from
Yeah.
1991. And yes, you were the one who's going to give the Robotrix, that's right.
So
yes, you were the one going to give the synopsis.
Is it Robotrix or Robotrix?
It's Robotrix.
Yes.
Okay, Robotrix. So Robotrix starts out, it's a Hong Kong movie. It's what they call a Category 3, which is kind of the Hong Kong
Hentai
version
without
of
the
like
tentacles.
lewd and maybe violent, and basically their version of an exploitation movie. And the premise is that there is some kind of Middle Eastern prince or king that comes to Hong Kong, and he wants to go to this expo where all these countries are presenting their robot designs, because he wants to create an army of robots, but he wants to have them demonstrated so he can pick which country is going to get his contract. So he's there in Hong Kong, and his son, the prince, is there as well. And the movie opens up with the prince is in a swimming pool with about 6, 7, 5 naked women. He's just kind of throwing them around. When I say naked, I mean fully naked, not just.
No, they weren't naked at first. They had on white see-through
Oh, okay.
T-shirts
Well,
that
yeah, I
he
guess
took
you're
off in front of his police escort.
Yeah, and they have a police escort there who's kind of watching him and make sure that nothing happens to him. And it kind of intercuts between him in the pool and in the robot show where his father is. And at the show, there are different countries competing for the contract. You've got, I think the German robot was the first one, maybe,
In the U.S.
and the U.S. robot, and then the Japanese robots, and they end up winning the contract. But in the meantime, there was a Japanese scientist that was told by the Japanese government that he is no longer part of the robot project, and he's pissed off and he's insane and he's kind of like a mad scientist and he's mad, so he kidnaps the prince. And well, okay, Honky, go ahead.
What? I'm sorry. One quick interlude. So they were showing off the two cyborgs fighting, which was fantastic, by the way, especially in the fact that they went out of control and then they basically both bonked heads and then fell over and both sat there like seizing, and they showed like little electricity things all over them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the American one went nuts and decided it was just going to kick the ass of everybody around it. But the fact that the two robots basically just kind of bonked heads and then both fell over and were seizing on the ground was just fantastic.
Yeah,
I just wanted to point that one scene out.
Great addition to the movie.
To the fantastic movie.
So the star of the movie, Amy Yip, and her name in the movie is Selena, which doesn't seem like a very Cantonese-sounding name, but she is working on the police force, and she's in charge of the task force that takes care of the prince, and she ends up getting shot and killed by the mad scientist as he exits with the prince, and so she's dead. And the king is upset and wants his son back, and the police force is working on it, but they can't really do much. And the Japanese scientist whose robot won the contract says, we can do something about it. What we'll do is we'll take...
I think we missed an important part right
Oh,
here, because...
The kidnapping?
Well, no,
I
the
mentioned the
kidnapping
kidnapping.
we discussed, but we did not discuss the videotape.
What videotape?
Where
the
the guy...
videotape that the guy dropped on him, and he turned onto, after he shot the policewoman, he dropped the VHS tape of him turning himself into a robot.
Oh yeah.
Which by the way, actually kind of explains one of my things that kind of bugged me there, because all of a sudden this gas is, the way they kidnap him is all of a sudden this gas is pouring out of there, and everyone's
It just falls
quite
asleep.
literally all at the same time. Everybody just goes.
Right, everybody's unconscious.
And then this guy just walks in, picks up the prince, and walks out. No mask on him or anything. Now, thinking back,
Doesn't even notice the weight. Pulls out his gun.
He was already a cyborg at that point. That's why the gas didn't bother him at all. But the first time I watched, I'm like, why the hell is this? Is he not bothered by the gas? And
I didn't
everybody
make that
else
connection.
instantaneously.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to watch. They just all at the same time, just like, all right, everybody, drop. And so everybody just goes. Boom.
So I had it in my mind that was a live transmission they were watching, but you're right, it was a videotape of the mad scientist. All right, well, let me make it through the quick synopsis real quick. So anyway, the mad scientist kidnaps the prince, and what happens is the Japanese scientist says, what we can do is, your detective that got killed, Selena, we will transfer her memories into one of our androids, and then she will be able to track down the mad scientist, collect the prince, and everything will be great from then on. So the movie kind of goes on, and that's the basic premise of it, and it kind of works out in the end. But so that's Robotrix.
No, there's large plot points missing there. You just cut from like the quarter of the way in right to the end.
Well, yeah, but I just wanted to give a brief synopsis. Now we can actually talk about the movie.
When do we ever give it a brief synopsis?
I know,
right?
There are some movies we tear it down like they almost saw it.
Where's the rest of it?
I know. I just wanted to do that in the beginning. So now we can start talking about it.
From that point where she gets transferred in, basically at the same time, the guy that transferred himself into a robot is soliciting himself a hooker and killing her pimp.
Before I get to that part,
fisting him through the stomach.
Before we get that far, I want to bring up something that made zero sense. So
the movie?
No. Why does he have to kill himself to put his memories inside the robot?
They specifically said that you couldn't make the transfer alive, but that was all they said
Oh, I didn't catch that part.
when they were watching the video.
She was dead for a while
Yeah, so she was
before they
brain
put
dead.
her body, her brain inside of the android.
Few hours. And I actually
Still-
want to get to the whole transfer process on that because, you know, the hole in her chest from where she got shot in the heart
Right.
really didn't exist. And this was excuse number 2 to show boobs.
I will
And
say,
they
there's a lot of boobs in this
Full
movie.
on, like, same girl, it was the same girl, but they wanted to make sure that you got to see those sets of boobs twice in the same shot.
They were nice.
They were nice boobs. But then the hole looked completely fake, and there was nothing real about that hole that was right between her boobs.
It was
Other
just some
than it
fake
drew
skin stuck
attention
on
to
there.
her boobs.
Yeah.
And then while this is going on, the robot that kidnapped the kid, the antagonist, he's soliciting a hooker and killed her pimp by fisting him through the stomach. And he takes the hooker and he goes upstairs and he's having sex with the hooker.
So this is sex crime number 1. It's
Sex crime number 1. He's having consensual sex with the hooker. It starts out as consensual, and she's like, "Aren't you ever going to get done?" And he's like, "Shut up, I'm still going." And then she tries to stop him, and so he chokes her out. And you're pretty sure she's almost dead when he keeps screwing her, and she's got blood falling out of her. And then she's definitely dead because he like throws her.
He rapes her to death, basically.
He rapes her to
And throws
death.
her out the window.
Throws her
then
out the window.
Cuts to the cops.
What a
One of those
fine
cops
quality
being
Right.
the fiance of the Robotrix, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy, he's just raping and killing hookers all over the place. Well, at least one a day. We got to stop him. Let's set up a sting."
The sting was the funniest
Oh, it
scene
was
of the
hilarious.
movie.
I loved it. It was so funny. And anyways, so the assistant to the scientist that did the mind transfer,
She's an android.
she's
not
an
the
android,
scientist,
and
but the
she's
assistant.
never experienced sex before. Oh, we missed a sex scene because the fiance doesn't know that his girlfriend, affianced, is a robot at that point, or a cyborg at that point, I should say.
Yeah.
So he takes her home, and those two go at it like bunnies.
This is Selena.
And it's all about the bouncing boobs there. All
Mhm.
about those bouncing boobs and epic boobs.
You're not
But
complaining.
okay, so now they're setting up this sting because the psycho robot likes hookers and likes killing them. So you got the assistant that is also a robot and smoking hot, and they're gonna have her be the one to be the hooker in their sting. And well, surprisingly, the cyborg is not the first one to show up. So they get regular old customers and they have a sex scene.
But the cops don't know that she's an android.
Right. And she's
So
like,
they just-
I've never had sex before.
They just put
And
a
it's like,
civilian out there to be a bait for this
Right,
mass killer.
right.
And it's okay
But they
if she
did make
gets...
her prove that she could defend herself.
Mhm.
They like dog piled on top of her to try and beat her up, and she's just like, yeah, no.
So what scenario would this be in real life where the cops take just a regular civilian and say,
Hold
okay,
on.
you're going to be a prostitute for and not only are you going
And
to
We're
then
not
if
quite
somebody
done
shows
yet.
up and she works.
No, they made money because it was like $300 a shot, and
Oh,
they had
that's
a
right.
line
There was a
going
line
down
going
the
down the-
street,
Oh,
and they
what-
were just collecting. Hey,
What was
hey,
the
we
sign-
gotta
what
keep
did the
doing
sign
this
say?
until the cyborg shows up.
What did the sign say? The biggest of the biggest?
Yeah, that's right.
The Queen of Queens.
No, it
No,
was the biggest
no.
of the biggest.
The biggest
it?
of the biggest, yeah.
They
That's
kept
what-
going
that's
in.
what
I
all
want to
these
see. I want
customers
the biggest
wanted.
of the biggest. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the translation was the Queen of Queens, though, is what they called her.
Oh, okay. Well, the guy kept
Well,
asking for the
the
biggest
dub-
of the biggest.
The dubbed
The
version
dub-
was the biggest of the biggest.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I only had the subtitled version, so it was the Queen of the Queens is
Oh,
what they
that's
said there.
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That
So
makes more sense
slight
than the biggest of the
variation.
biggest, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. But so yeah, and And
That makes
Puppy,
it sound
one
like
of the
some fat
cops,
chick.
tried to get in there as the second customer, and that just didn't
Okay,
work out for
my
him
yeah,
because
favorite
his
you
friends
need to
caught
set
him.
that up right first, because that's a great joke.
The scruffy guy who's the fiance's best friend there, whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
he's a
liked him.
cop. So the setup is they're watching this woman be screwed by all these guys and waiting for the killer to come, and everything's fine. That's just how police
Literally.
procedures work. And then the scruffy kind of goofy guy who's kind of the comedic relief says, okay, my shift's over, I'm going to get out of here. And they're like, you don't want to watch this? He's like, no, I got to go, you know. So what he does is he puts on this crazy
A
disguise
stupid costume.
of sunglasses and a wig, and what does he have, a mustache on or something?
Yeah.
And
Something like that, yeah.
and he pays the money to be a customer, and he goes in there to
He
have
covers
sex with,
the camera with his jacket.
to have sex with the setup girl who's supposed to be catching the criminal. He goes to have sex with her himself, but she recognizes him. She knows who he is right off the bat. And when they hear his name called, they all go in there and bust him. It's just so funny that he
Beat
snuck in there
the
to have sex.
tar out of him, too.
Yeah.
His friends are in there just wailing on him.
I laughed pretty hard at that part. That was funny.
Oh. But then, now he doesn't go in there to have sex, but the cyborg does show up and there's a confrontation, blah, blah, blah. He gets his arm ripped off, and the
Not then.
assistant.
He didn't get his arm ripped off till he explodes.
Okay.
Remember they threw that propane tank at him later on. They shot it.
Well,
His
he
arm
threw the
got-
propane tank.
No, the Amy Yip or one of them threw a propane tank at him, not at the hotel, but when they were in that junkyard desert looking thing.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's when his arm flew off.
And they did almost kill him in the junkyard. They actually had him attached to a magnet, and they dropped him in a compactor. No, that's at the end. They did kill him.
No, this is before. This was during the day.
Okay,
Remember?
yeah.
That was the first. But I don't understand why they didn't kill him then, because they
Yeah,
had
why
him
the hell
down.
did they just run away?
Yeah, they just jumped in the car right away. He was already
Right.
exploded, and he didn't have an arm. They could have just crushed him, or kept shooting him or something.
Something.
Bullets mostly didn't stop him, except the one time where he was setting up a trap.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, there was no more opportunity for boobs. Then they had to let the movie keep going so they
Yeah.
could keep doing that.
There was
Get
more
to the boobs.
opportunity for boobs, and they proved
No,
that. When
If they ended it there, it wouldn't have been right.
Right. Okay, so they disabled him. They dragged him back to the scientist's lab so that they could try and find the location of the kidnapped kid, who was an adult.
The prince, yeah.
Yeah, and he'd already had his leg drilled at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And video footage of that.
Which they sent to the king, and so he wanted to pull them off the case, and they said, no,
Pay this guy.
give us a few more days. And his son is almost, as far as he knows, is about to be killed, and he says, okay, I'll give you 3 more days.
Right.
I feel like you get him right now, or I'm paying this guy.
But anyways, so the robot, the antagonist, is missing his head, and he's on the slab, and he says, they power up his head, and he says, the kid's in a cave somewhere, which is an obvious lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then so everybody except for the scientist goes off to try and find the kid in the cave.
Well, they were going to destroy the head. She said, no,
And
I
then
want to
reanimate
study
it.
She
it.
said, I can still learn from this.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
she
is
learned
bad
something
news.
because he reattached his head and he tied her up to the ceiling and has her hanging from the ceiling and just rapes the ever-loving
So
crap
this
out
was
of her.
maybe the
Really
third
bad.
sex crime committed here.
Yeah, and like just different angles of her getting raped.
Not only that,
And-
but we get a full frontal scene here of
him, the
of him.
tiniest penis on the planet.
There is peeing on screen. Which, if you're making yourself a robot body, why would you give yourself such a
Right?
tiny dong? And it's not even erect. He's just screwing her with the soft, tiny penis. So they blew the budget on the robot parts, and they couldn't afford a prosthetic for the mad scientist.
Right?
So
But
it was
anyway,
wild. I will put it
that's
that
when-
way.
everybody comes running back in
This is a Linux podcast, I swear.
to stop this guy. Everybody comes running back in to stop this guy that put his own head back on.
Mm-hmm.
And don't ask me how he originally put his head on backwards and it got put on right, because I don't know.
He just screwed it on like it
Yeah.
was a light bulb,
Mm.
and all the wires
and
automatically connected to everything. Or something.
so they show up, and the two other the robot girls are taking on the guy, and they like rip their clothes off, and they're wearing like steel coated bra and panties
Yeah, some kind of
to fight
superhero
him.
costumes.
Yeah.
That was a pretty
And
awesome
so-
fight, though.
And then Selena gets drilled, like literally drilled, through the chest with a drill,
Mm-hmm.
and she gets shut down. And that's important later on. It really is. And then that guy gets destroyed, thanks to the prince, and because he gets away, and then he goes to the prince, and they somehow are tracking him now, and they track him to the prince. And then they try eventually they turn him into a cube of garbage.
Yeah, in one of those
Despite the
crushers
fact that
in the
they-
junkyard.
No, they tried to put him in the crusher, but they couldn't get him in the crusher, so they dropped a cube on him.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And
you're
magically he was crushed inside the cube.
Right. Mm-hmm. He exploded. And the cops, they had kind of the Chekhov's gun where in the very beginning he talked about how he was afraid of heights because I think he was chasing
This is the fiance.
a kid, chasing a kid, and he fell off a building and he grabbed him by the hand and he couldn't hold on, and he said ever since then he's been afraid of heights. He has to go to the top of this crane, and I don't know if something's tangled up or something. And,
the one crane hit the other crane, and they were
that what
locked
it is?
together, and they had to unhook them.
Yeah, so that they could drop that guy into the
And
mad
the
scientist
reason-
robot.
The robot lady couldn't go do it is because the magnets pulled a bender on her.
Right, because she was made out of metal too, so she would be disrupted.
She specifically said that the magnet would scramble her brain and she would go nuts and try and kill people, which is why I called it a bender. Because if you remember
okay.
Bender from Futurama, he would go crazy and start singing things. He wouldn't go and try and kill people because killing people was his normal state.
Folk songs.
But yeah, so she couldn't do it because magnet.
Mm-hmm. And so, what happened after that? They killed the guy. Oh, here's the part that I want to discuss with you guys. So he finds out that Selena is actually an android because they have to repair her to bring her back to life.
Repair the other girl.
Yeah, repair the other girl. And so in the movie, he kind of fights it, is not cool with it, but then it seems like they erase her memory, right?
That's it right there. That's why it's
Well,
important.
they had a backup. Yeah. They had a backup of her memory before they put it into the other robot, the first
So,
robot.
So she doesn't know she's a robot now.
And she was excessively damaged, and so they basically rebuilt her body, the robot body, and then put her mind back in it, but didn't tell her.
Right.
Right.
So they told him he could tell her if he wants to or whatever. So my question is, I have two scenarios here. Number one, say that you've been married to your wife or you've had your girlfriend for, years and years, and then you find out she's an android just out of nowhere. What do you do? I mean, you just, after you've had all these memories and everything's gone great, you have your kids or whatever, do you stay with your wife or girlfriend? Even though you know she's an android? You do?
As long as you're not expecting kids, yeah, that's fine.
Well, somehow she's had kids. Like I don't know, when she went to the hospital, they made baby robots and made it seem like she got pregnant and all this stuff. So you never know. You have a whole family, Here.
Well, like
and she's always been a robot, and I just never knew it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna have to be okay with that because
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you're
No
cool.
problem.
Now, what about the second scenario where she gets
I find
killed?
out I'm a robot?
No, your wife or your girlfriend gets killed, and they put her thoughts into a robot that looks just like her, and you can never tell the difference. Now, would you
If
be
I can't
okay?
tell, then
Still don't
can I
care.
say, can I get a
Really?
robot body too?
But this time you know it's a robot from the very beginning.
Can I get something a little less broken for myself?
No, but you would stay with you would go back to her, the robot her?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I would not. because I'm not some weird robot fucking disgusting piece. I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what? Toys are fun.
No, the first scenario, I would say, okay, I've already lived with you for this long, and I didn't know, and now I know, so big deal. The second scenario, I would have my reservations. I don't know, because I would say, well, why don't you say my wife has passed, and this is not my real wife now, and I don't want to.
I don't want to go back to the dating market. It's a pain in the ass.
Daddy, who are you fooling? You know you got one of those little real life dolls in the closet there.
I don't have that much money. She's I just
Those
got
are
the cheap
expensive.
blow up ones from the
Right?
convenience store, yeah. And glue
You
the
know,
wig.
Fleshlight.
They had a sale on the blow up sheep, so
Yeah, I just
he's
put
good.
lipstick on a fleshlight, and that's that's my girlfriend right there.
Oh.
No, I don't think I could. The second scenario, I don't think I could do that.
If you physically can't tell the difference, then
Right.
and
Who
then
cares?
she's mentally the same person, mentally seems like the same person.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
Everything's the same. Like even in this kind of scenario, like from the movie, where she doesn't know that she was ever killed, and she's just
that's called beta testing, and I'm down.
really. That wouldn't be in the back of your mind though, that this is not a human being. This is
No.
Not unless
Wow.
it goes nuts and start trying to kill me.
Right.
I don't know, man. It's
And then
just-
again, if
That
unless
might be
you like
completely normal too. You never know.
if he wanted to have kids, I can see that being a problem. But if he doesn't, if that's not an issue, then who
Now,
cares?
do you think you could ever fall in love with like an android, knowing that? I mean, you like you've seen that movie Her, where he has that little
No.
earpiece, and that has
Is it
Scarlett
on our list?
Johansson. No, I don't think so. But Scarlett Johansson plays this AI, and it's just the earpiece you wear, but it's like your companion, and he falls in love with her and stuff. And I don't think I could ever make that connection with like an AI, even though they seemed human and all that stuff.
Not if it's just a voice. You give it a body, maybe I can feel some sort of a connection.
Really?
Even if it's just for about 5 minutes.
This AI
once a
doesn't
week.
have real feelings,
The
it's just
dialogue
programmed.
in the new Battlestar Galactica.
Chat GPT.
Now, do you think we'll ever get to that point where they have companions for people that take the place of real life girlfriends or boyfriends or wives
Yes.
or
Yes.
husbands?
I mean, they have that.
What did-
Technically, we have that now.
No, but to the point to where you can't really differentiate them from a human being as far as their personality and stuff goes.
Yes, I think
Minutes
one day we
away.
will.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Certainly.
I think it's more the physical things that they still need to work on a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, people live in complete different identities already in Second Life, and there's a massive economy based on the Linden dollar, with people having all kinds of, shall we say, alternate lives in Second Life. It's incredibly addicting.
You bring up a good point. Like people fall in love online all the time with each other, having never even met each other in real life. So, I mean, what would be the difference if who you fell in love with was an AI or an android, but you had no idea, that they were not a real human?
Yeah, if you're not meeting each other in the meat space, then it could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. It's like that Reality
Real-time
Plus
deepfakes.
book. Yeah,
It's a thing now.
Sure.
yeah.
If Al was a robot, it wouldn't change my mind.
Really? Well, maybe I'll have to rethink this. Maybe I'm the weird one.
You are.
Think
So,
one day it could be a real sheep.
could be.
Remember, Danny, I don't eat people.
Yeah. One day I'll have my own, I don't know, what's a good sheep name? Do sheep have names? Betsy? Betty?
Sure.
I have no idea.
Reap, but that's the name of a Pokemon.
My little brother used to call all his lambs sweet tarts, and he'd feed them sweet tarts, and they would follow him around like a dog. He won prizes at the fair and stuff. He was the only one that didn't have to have a harness on his livestock.
Got him hooked on sugar.
Yep. He was so happy when he got his first check. and everybody's like, you know, they're gonna kill and eat him, and he was like, yeah.
That's fine.
That's the point. Yeah.
All right.
He
So
was small enough. He used to ride him around in the yard.
the lamb would ride him, or he'd ride the lamb.
Yes.
He'd hop on the back of him and ride around. Yeah.
I didn't know you liked that kind of blow up sheep.
So what do we rate this movie? I give it a thumbs up.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up, but not as a tech movie.
Not a stick movie. Okay. So
I'm gonna watch again with the commentary.
Yeah, the commentary is great. I did listen
Oh.
to some of that. It's
Oh,
pretty
yeah?
funny. Yeah.
Is it English commentary?
Yeah, it's English commentary.
Do you have a link to that still? Drop a link to the.
Yeah, it's in the
for that.
Matrix room.
It's in the Matrix room for now. You're about to change that.
No, well, yeah, but I'll leave it up.
All right.
Yeah, that's the MKV version.
Because like I said, I did the dub, and honestly, or not the dub, the sub. Honestly, it was easier to do the sub at 2x because I can read.
Oh, you watched it 2x?
It made the boobs bounce so much quicker.
Now, did you watch this with your wife?
I did not.
What
I
about
think
you,
the next
Honkey?
time I watch it at 1x, I will definitely watch it with the wife.
He watched it at work. Or while he was working.
Right after work.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, this is my office.
Right.
Now, Mornsey, what would Elle think about a movie like this?
Well, my guess is she'd laugh hysterically.
Does she have our sense of humor?
I don't know, but she's gonna watch it with me.
Oh, she is.
You guys
Well,
gonna set up a watch party?
You'll have to let us know how it works out.
She never set up Plex from the tablet that I bought when I was over there, so I don't know how she's gonna watch it. But she needs to go in and activate Plex for the tablet.
Should have set up some kind of remote so you could remote into it. Set things up for her.
Remote into my network.
You should have set something up so you could remote into her tablet so you could set things up for her.
Yeah, I'll probably have to wait till November. Shouldn't have that kind of time.
You can just watch Plex over the web browser.
Well, I have the new movie here. Mornsey,
What do
do
you
you
got?
have a drum roll?
Don't you want a drum roll?
What happened to your headset?
Oh my God, what was that? Was that the drum roll?
Echo.
Feedback.
Yeah, it was the drum roll through
Okay,
YouTube.
it is Blackhat from 2015, starring Chris Hemsworth, Viola Davis, Tang Wei, Lee Hum Wang, and other people.
This isn't another softcore porn, is it?
No, this is actually directed by De Palma. Oh, Michael Mann. A furloughed convict and his American and Chinese partners hunt a high-level cybercrime network from Chicago to Los Angeles to Hong Kong to Jakarta.
And we need some more movies on our list.
Yeah.
We're running out.
That was the result of the server crash I had. My bad. So
I think I've already watched it.
You've seen Blackhat?
Yeah, I think.
I haven't seen it.
Neither have I.
So I will have that link in the matrix soon. Are you back on your normal time schedule, Mortency?
Kinda.
See, I didn't have a problem with jet lag when I got there. I had problems with jet lag when I got home.
I
It
left
was,
after working
hmm
lots of hours and packing last minute and stuff. So I was awake for almost 2 days before I flew for 2 days. So I was tired when I got there. Yeah, was awake a lot the last couple days before my flight back. Less layover time this time on the way back.
hmm.
Oh, and I put a link to Peter Miser for Joe's reference to kind of a robot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. I didn't know I had made a reference to Scent of a Robot.
I'm a robot programmed not to know that I'm a robot.
What is that a reference
Well, the first
to?
instance of that I can remember in media would be Star Trek: The Next Generation. When I know that there was stuff before that. The one I can remember though is Star Trek: The Next Generation with Nu Yun Sun's wife.
I don't remember that.
The only person that could tell that she was a robot was Data, and it was because of how she played the violin, and it was because the errors that she made, the mistakes that she made, followed a specific mathematical pattern.
Hmm.
It's an old core song. I think he might have been on Tilt at one point, maybe. Maybe not.
I will definitely give that a watch. Okay, and then I also put a link in here to I know I have not read this article, but I saw the news piece that was done on it, where Ford has patented autonomous vehicle repossession. There's a whole lot more to it than that, and they tried to explain what they were planning on doing, but basically, if you don't pay your car note, they were saying that they could first they would make it so like your climate control didn't work, or your radio didn't work, or your cruise control no longer worked, and then they would make your vehicle like give a horrible buzzing noise, and when you started your vehicle or the whole time you were driving your vehicle, in order to try and convince you to pay, and that eventually the car could basically drive itself back to the lot. And this was
Yeah, what
making
go wrong with that?
so much that can go wrong with that. But other than the things that could go wrong with that, or go completely retarded with that, because somebody may fat fingers and makes a mistake, and you actually did pay your note, and bad things were happening anyway. But no, my whole thing there is twofold. One, if they can do that, then you never actually own your vehicle, because even the day after you're done paying for it, they could still turn that crap on and do it.
I didn't think about that. That's true.
Two, the next major thing that I have an issue with is no system is completely secure. So if they can do this to every single one of their vehicles, and a hacker can get in and suddenly has control of an entire army of cars,
That's crazy.
even if they're
That'd
not
really freak
complete
out
and
Trudeau,
total
wouldn't it?
assholes. But yeah, it's the end of ownership.
So yeah, there was an article not too long ago about cars as a service, and I think that ties in with that too, where you don't actually own your vehicle
Well,
anymore.
if you didn't actually own your vehicle anymore, then you wouldn't have a car note, and this wouldn't matter.
So can Tesla does things over the air, don't they, to their cars, like disable and enable certain features and things like that?
It wasn't Tesla. It was there was another like high-end car company that
There was
made
a thing a while back where BMW was going to make like
BMW.
heated seats as a monthly fee or something like that. I remember reading about that.
And if you wanted to unlock all the power of the engine, then you had to pay like a monthly fee or something, which is stupid. It means you don't own your vehicle.
So what do we do when all cars sold are like this? You know, do you have to make your own car then? If you want to, are they going to have?
Yes.
I guess
Foss cars.
I'll be a classics enthusiast.
I guess
See,
so.
I don't think they could ever hit a point where all cars are like that.
You don't think they will?
No, because again, like he said, they're going to be. You could have classic car people who don't want any of that stuff.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, do you think it'll be a point where all new cars sold will be like that, though?
Possible.
Or do you think there'll be an automaker that says, "Hey, we respect your privacy, and we're not going to do any of that stuff"?
What happens when you can't drive your car because the internet's down?
Yeah. Or what about what if your automaker decides to make a deal with the car insurance companies and sends them all your data for the way you drive and everything like that?
Or where your car goes.
That's actually already a thing with your insurance companies and OBD2 connectors. You can opt in for it, but you can get a lower price on your insurance by opting in and having that OBD2 connector and sending back all the data on whether you're speeding or accelerating quickly to get up to speed or hitting the brakes often or things like that. And the more cautious of a driver you are, the lower your prices stay.
Would y'all opt into something like that?
They'd have to be a very, very large incentive for that to...
Like basically halving your rate or something?
Right. And even then, I'd still be leery about it. Now, how does the OBD2 kick back? Is it OBD2 with like a cell chip in it?
Yeah, it would have to be. It would have to be.
Right.
They provide that OBD2 connector, though, so...
Do any of y'all have the Bluetooth OBD connector?
Yeah.
I want to get one, but I think I need a slightly newer vehicle for it to,
I got one.
Not necessarily.
No, I do have an OBD2 connector, but it's an older style. I have a 2001 Buick.
Mine's a 2010, and it works on there. It's a Bluetooth, and I just connect it to my phone, the app on my phone, to check out error codes and stuff like that. It works well.
Well, get that for your Robotrix.
My Robotrix.
Yeah, well, I think my brother's under a lot of that. He's a commercial truck driver, and they're monitoring all sorts of shit, including.
Does he own his own truck though?
No, he does not. No, but I'm just saying that kind of habit is already built into a lot of the regulations. His trucks have digital logbooks and stuff already.
Kind of like the Amazon and the UPS trucks.
Yeah, U.S. Post Office does it. Parts drivers for like Pep Boys auto shops do it. They monitor your brakes, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it's now, instead of paper logs, everything is digital. So you've got to have a computer in the dashboard.
See, I don't like that. Did any of y'all? That just bothers me. Even okay, I'm using a company truck. I understand that, but I just don't like to be monitored. I mean, I feel like if you are paying me to do a job and I do my job correctly, why do you have to be always looking over my shoulder? If you don't,
you could have saved 10 seconds if you hadn't stopped and looked both directions at that light.
It's just this mentality of being spied on. Like I guess I'm old school. I feel like if you don't trust me enough to do this job, then fire me or don't hire me in the first place. I just don't.
I feel less weirded out about it if it was a company vehicle, because you're working for that company, they own the vehicle, then they want to know what's going on with you in the vehicle. I'm less weirded out about that. I'll be more weirded out like like if I was doing it with my own car at home. And then again, that kind of goes back to what you're talking about. What I do for the insurance. I don't know. Rethinking all of it, I don't know. It would have to be like something like. Would you do it for the insurance?
I would not. No.
Even if it cut that insurance basically in half, your car insurance like in half.
Still, but I say that, and my cell phone is monitoring everywhere I go anyway with the GPS.
And your speed.
Yeah, and my speed. I mean, no telling what they do with data. So I mean, what's the difference?
Oh, Google sells it to everybody.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. They gotta make the money somehow.
You'd have to get a Pine phone or something if you didn't want to worry about that.
Even then, if you're connected to the cellular network, then there's some tracking.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, but with the Pine phone, at least they have physical switches if you want to turn any of that stuff off.
Yeah, you can.
Well, you know, most of your phones do. It's called a power button.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which reminds me, Mordency, did you ever get your phones? Your Linux phones? He's pulling something out of his pocket. I wonder if that's the phone.
I don't think so. I don't think he's listening to us.
I have to wonder if he's actually listening. Can you hear us, Mordency? It was a 322.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Still can't hear you.
You broke it, Mordency.
No. Well, I can see your lips move, but we can't hear you. Well, while he gets this figured out, speaking of phones, Linux phones, is there any way that I can have a similar experience to what Linux on DeX was? Is there any application I can use or anything like this?
No, the closest one I can think of is Maru OS. And I don't know if they've had any recent updates.
And with that, I'd have to replace the current
entire
Samsung
OS.
ROM. I don't want to do that though. I mean, even like a rooted environment. I mean, as long as I could connect to it.
You could because DeX still works. Like you can still hook up to a monitor, right?
Right. Okay.
You can also run Linux in a VM. I don't think it works very well because you're mostly stuck as root. There are ways around that, but you can then have that up on a screen.
Well, see, would I even be able to run a VM though?
Yes.
So I could.
Depends on your phone.
Now I heard Pixel phones have that. I forgot the VM management that you can do with Pixel phones, but I don't think Samsung has that.
Well, you can there are applications where you can just run.
Really?
Well, that's not a VM. That's a little bit different.
No, it is.
That's like the difference between. No, it's an emulation. It's not a VM.
Okay.
Now what are y'all talking about? What are you talking about, Joe? What is it?
Hold on, let me see if I can find the application.
You can emulate operating systems like Debian and stuff straight onto the on a phone.
But that's in like the P-root environment, though.
You don't have to be rooted. It's just a regular. It's just an application basically running Debian, emulating Debian.
Well, I mean, but but P-root is like what Termux uses for to root.
Yes, yes, that's basically what it is. But they'll give you like a full Debian desktop.
So it would give you like a desktop, though, not just a terminal.
Yes, it does give you a desktop, which is why I thought it was.
Well, see, I would be okay with that.
A VM. Like I said, there are issues with it. You're basically stuck as root, and there's ways around that, but then getting anything installed is a complete and total pain. And the one I was using before I got rid of it was AN Linux. AN Linux.
Now, is it,
or Android Linux?
once you shut it down, does it still keep your preferences and your files and stuff within that environment?
Yeah.
See, it's not as cool. Remember, there was some link that I think I brought up where it would actually create a virtual environment, and that you can connect. You can have files that you share between the Android operating
Yeah.
system and then the virtual Linux operating system.
And that was, I think that just works on Pixel phones, though.
But
Yep, I think you're right.
But I will also say that you're using VNC to view whatever desktop you're setting up on your Android phone. And since that's the case, wouldn't it be easier just to have VNC set up to a Linux box?
Well, what I was talking about is similar to that, what we had talked about the last show about that, the lapdock, where you just dock your phone to like
Okay.
laptop that doesn't have anything inside of it, you know? It's just basically a monitor with a keyboard. And so you carry around your PC with you just on your phone. And when you want to use it as a laptop, you can. I wanted to do something similar like that because I got this new phone now that it's pretty powerful, and I was hoping there's, I don't know, something like that I could do.
No. It's really janky running or emulating Linux on an Android phone. I would say that if you're going to do that, just, run the desktop version of Android.
Here's the one that Honkey was talking about. I'll re-put it in the show notes. It's called Nestbox, and it says it takes advantage of the latest Pixel phones that can run virtual machines through a framework called pKVM, Protected Kernel Virtualization, in Pixel 6 and later devices. It's easy to run as it would be on Windows or a regular Linux system. And what's cool, like what Honky was saying, is your VM is you can share files between your phone's operating system and the pKVM. And I wish that was available for all phones, not just a Pixel.
What's it called?
pKVM. I'm just now put it in the show notes. So it's there. It's called Nestbox. I'm sorry, but the protocol is called pKVM. And the reason you can only do it on Pixel phones is because it takes advantage of the Google chip, their in-house chip that they have in those Pixel phones.
What phone did you pick up?
I got the S23. They had the trade-in.
The Ultra?
No, you had to pay extra. I didn't pay anything for this phone. I just traded in my S20 through AT&T, and they give you $1,000 credit, and that credit, or up to $1,000 credit, and that credit will pay each month of your phone. So you have to be in an installment plan, but you don't pay anything. That credit covers your plan. Since it was free, you still have to pay tax.
They don't do contracts anymore for your phone service, but this is how they get around that to make sure that you stay a customer.
Yeah, because if I leave, then I have to finish paying off that phone. I don't want to do that, but anyway, I guess that's kind of, nothing's really available like that, unless I wanted a Linux phone, or like what, that's what I was asking about Mordency's phone, if he ever got those Linux phones in, and I guess he did not.
Do you know where those Linux phones are, Mordency? We still can't hear you.
Can't hear you, buddy. Anyway, anybody remember what those were called? Was it
I don't know, but I know that
FX something.
next month, April,
Uh-huh.
isn't the Pine Tab 2 coming out?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
There's a
coming
new
up here
Pine
soon.
update. Is there anything else interesting in that Pine update?
That's the only one I've seen, but that's only because it was pointed out to me. And the starting prices on the Pine Tab 2s is going to be $160, $159.
Hello.
Oh, we
Hello.
hear you now.
Hello.
I
Linux
switched
phones.
I think it was the splitter I was using.
So we were asking about if you ever got those phones or not. The Linux phones.
No, you can get them for $350 from Hong Kong right now.
Damn it! But you did the Indiegogo or what?
I had just prepaid for them.
You don't want to pay for them again?
I paid way too much for them.
And now you don't even get them.
They were supposed to be sent in August.
Do they give you any kind of update or tracking or anything like that?
That was the last update. They said they were going to provide tracking when they were sent.
Which will be never.
I didn't read this Pine 64 update. Pine Tab 2. So did they ever start shipping out the original Pine Tab again, or was that just kind of like we ran out and that was it?
Available for purchase last I looked.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, did they do an update to the Pine Time?
I think they're getting a lot of software updates. I think that was in the notes there.
Oh, and they did an update for the Pine Sol.
They did?
Pine Time.
Yeah, they got the Pine Sol V2.
Well, yeah. Now they
With
have
Bluetooth.
a BLE app for it. Pine Sam, they call it. Arcade. Have you heard of that emulator? R-Cade. New
No.
release for Rock 64, Rock Pro 64, and Pinebook. Issues with the Pine Buds Pro's left earbud can be fixed by reflashing the firmware. So there's a 4 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte version for $159 for the Pine Tab 2, and the 8 gigabyte of RAM, 128 gigabyte version for $209. Comes with you can get a keyboard for it. Sometime in April is the launch window.
Yeah, I'm still not overly interested in it. I mean, I like the idea of it, but I'm not a fan of the ARM processor in it. RK processors.
My issue with the lapdocs is they cost as much as like
Freaking laptop, yeah.
it's just a decent low-end laptop, and I don't understand why. They're not paying for memory. They're not paying for hard drive. They're not paying for CPU.
A decent screen. That's all you're usually paying for there.
I guess so. Are all the other components just that cheap that's how much it costs? Or do you think it's like economy of scale where they just don't sell as many as they would a laptop?
I don't know, but I mean, seriously, it should not cost that much. I mean, the only expensive part that I can think of would be the screen.
Yeah.
And even then, that's just a panel.
Right. The next dock is pretty cool, though. The one that Librem put out. It's just expensive.
Yeah, well, the one I posted last time. can't remember what that's called. Let me see if I can find it.
Honkey's going to sleep already.
He does that. Somebody walk by and tase him.
He's going to take a nap here.
The Uperfect.
Uperfect?
Uperfect
Damn
X.
right I am.
Oh my god, is it really 11:07 already?
It's late.
Yeah, it is.
And mostly it got taken up with us talking about pornography.
Yeah, I kind of zoned out there for a minute, not gonna lie to you.
I'm looking at the Uperfect right now.
Yeah, I just dropped the link to it again. I know it was in last show too.
Oh, lapdock for Samsung DeX.
I was looking at replacing my server, well, not replacing, but swapping in a RISC-V board, but Linux support on RISC-V is like, unless you know how to hack the kernel, it's just not reliable.
Did you
Yeah.
did you ever get that figured out with your motherboard?
No, me and Eli both so here's the thing, right? Is that it crapped out, and what eventually ended up happening was, in order to fix it, I'd have to spend more than what was in the original budget. The point of it was to be cheap and effective. It was effective and it stopped being cheap. I mean, at this point, we've cycled through components. I mean, we bought a new PSU, swapped that in, didn't change a thing. We bought a new motherboard because we thought the case might have made contact with it and shorted it out. Well, that wasn't the problem. So now we think it's the CPU, and at that point, I'm not throwing money at it, guys. I built a new computer. You know, it's just.
Yeah, there's a certain
wanted it
time
to
when
be
you have to call it.
Yeah,
That sucks, man.
That's where we're at.
So you'd have to. Your next step would get a new CPU, huh?
Yeah, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'll go get a Raspberry Pi when the price comes down or something. But I'm just not spending $1,500 when at that point I could replace my main rig. You know.
So you just gonna do you just return the parts or what?
I was going to, but because I piecemealed it, like over time, because I didn't have money to pay
Whoa,
for
what was it you were trying to fix?
He was building a new server.
Yeah, my NAS, my Jellyfin NAS. It was supposed to double as an XP emulation box, and it worked really good for what it was. I'm gonna say that right now. When it did work, it worked really damn well. But this fucking new components are supposed to work, guys. And when you piecemeal it together over 6 months, some of the stuff you just can't return. Or in my case, I didn't have over the course of the time. I didn't have some of the original packaging because I just expected it to work. I built the computer I'm talking to you guys on right now perfectly fine without any issues, but I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
one of my work associates recently built a computer, and he was building an AM4 plus or an AM4 machine, and he had to go through like three different motherboards from 3 different manufacturers before we actually found one that worked with the processor that he had. So,
Man,
and
I
then
feel bad for you, Hopper. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I know that sucks when you're excited to get the thing up and running.
So it
Oh,
is
yeah.
a fairly common thing to happen where you're buying these new parts and they just suck.
It sucks because it was the motherboard was ASUS, and it was 2 ASUS motherboards. One was a TUF, and I can't remember what the other one was. The other one was a Strix, and so it's like I had a Ryzen 5 5600G in there. I had 64 gigs of RAM. We actually we know it's not the RAM because the RAM is sitting in the computer that I'm talking to you from right now. just threw it in there, so now I got 64 gigs of DDR4. But Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't pissed off
Hey,
about it.
kudos on finding a G model. You couldn't
Oh
find
yeah,
the G models there for a while.
That's the other thing is that it's a G model, and I need the G model, and so that's the other thing is that I bought it when it was cheap. Those have gone up in price, I'm pretty sure, since, and so I just like I said, I wanted it to be below $1,000, and if I go and replace the CPU, it's gonna push it over that, and I'll go get some SBC or something to put it on there. But as I mentioned in the Matrix earlier today, the Raspberry Pi Foundation is just sucking balls right now.
Well, they had a statement that they released. Was it last month or the month before? I know we discussed it, where they were talking about they were going to get all their issues fixed, and their availability should be back in the third quarter of this year.
Well, that's nice. The other question because I was looking at the suppliers. Anyone know what the hell happened to Element 14?
I thought they shut down a couple years ago.
No, like they're still in existence. Like their website's still up and everything. You can buy parts from them, but they don't make Raspberry Pis anymore, which is really weird because a few years ago they were like a major player in that space.
They never made Raspberry Pis. They were an official distributor.
Right.
Oh, is that what? Oh, because the box. I just assumed that they were one of the manufacturers because the Raspberry Pi that I bought was from them, and it said Element 14 on the box. So I just assumed
they were just the U.S. distributors.
I'm gonna guess it's a licensing issue then. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is a mess. So right now, what I'm doing is pretty stupid. We threw the M.2 SSD into my main rig, and we threw the WD Red in there as well. And to Linux's credit, you know, you can just throw it in any x86 box, and it'll just go like nothing changed, and it works perfectly fine. But it's just irritating because now, you know, for example, when I get off this call, I'm gonna have to restart my computer specifically into that other operating system. It's just a mess. And I was looking at RISC-V boards because I was like, I'm curious to know what's going on there because I haven't looked into it in like 5 years. And so the status of that right now is they sell RISC-V boards. You can get them, but I'm not quite sure why, but Linux, like obviously you can port Linux to it. It's not.
Mine
really
has one. Star 64, I think, something like that.
I was looking at a Star 5.2, I believe, and that has an M.2 slot on it. The problem is that I want NixOS because like one of the things I want to do is I want to get NixOS and I want to get Kubernetes because I've got a couple other things that are also servers that I want to run on there. There's Shoko, which is like a metadata grabber thing for Jellyfin, and that's going to be useful for anime. I'm sure Eli could tell you exactly why anime metadata is an issue in Jellyfin. One Piece has 1,000 fucking episodes, more than that, I think. And
I think it's like 1,100.
In order for TVDB to recognize the fact that it's One Piece, all 1,200 episodes have to be in season 1. And so that brings us to point number 2. The Roku client is a pain in the ass to work with when you have seasons that are more than 20 episodes because it starts to chug. And so I started looking into it, and it's like there's this thing called Shoko, which will deal with all that garbage for you. The catch is that, like, obviously you have to run it, but I don't know. There's things that could be better, but I mean, I don't know, man. It is a disappointment when you go stand up a NAS and 75% of it just doesn't fucking work.
Yep. Though I don't, when it comes to the RISC-V stuff, I'm not sure if there's anything really running RISC-V well.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's pretty experimental right now.
I'm pretty sure that Windows doesn't have a build for it, neither does Mac, or I don't know who else besides the occasional Linux would have a RISC-V build.
I mean, nobody, because nobody else has source available.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not a C programmer, and I've watched, I don't know if you guys watch In Commander, but I've watched In Commander port Linux, and you really do, in a lot of cases, have to quite literally hack the kernel. Which, I mean, if you can grok it, that's great, you know, submit the patch upstream and see if it gets merged, but, I mean, I don't deal well with memory management in C, and unfortunately that's what I would have to deal with. Like, obviously I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, when you watch somebody else cross compile stuff and have to do it, you kind of get the gist, you know. I don't know. Hopefully it'll be figured out within the next few months. I don't have a solution yet, but I'm sure I'll find one.
I don't know if you can get away with one machine, but have you looked at some of the 1-liter solutions? I'm running a few of them, and they're pretty powerful and pretty efficient.
What is that?
Just a mini PC?
Yeah, mini PCs. And
Are you talking about the NUCs? Like the NUCs?
well,
Yeah, we don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah,
No,
like that form factor.
no, these are the little desktops that you see mounted behind.
Yeah, like a NUC.
Mm-hmm. The little thin
Right,
client.
but they're a little bigger than a NUC.
They got a lot more power.
Oh.
Are you talking about like a thin client?
Well, they got more power than a regular thin client usually, but it's that same form factor. Yeah, like a Wise client.
I have an HP one that's no longer working.
Mini ITX, slightly, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about going on eBay and finding one of the Wise ones. After you guys brought it up, I don't know when that'll be. I don't have money right now, but
you know, I thought
looks
about
promising.
that when we were talking. I thought about that later. You said you wanted to use it for media, and those don't have HDMI out. If it's just going to be a server and you'll have a client somewhere else, it'd be all right. But
yeah, well, that's the thing is that I'm willing to nix the whole XP side of shit. It's running Jellyfin, and Jellyfin only is a server. Like, you have to have a client on another device to use it. So it's like Plex, you know. You can probably, if you can run Plex from one of those, you can run Jellyfin.
Honky uses Jellyfin.
The only hang up that I would have is one of the things that I wanted to do, and it was planned when I was building the NAS. So I eventually wanted to put an Intel Arc card in there for AV1 encoding, and that's obviously not happening now.
I have Jellyfin running on an old Sony Vaio laptop that is pretty damn old.
Do you do any transcoding on it? Or is it just...
Yeah, I think it does.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because I don't think it does it on any of the clients. Because most of the clients are all...
The only thing I have to bitch about Jellyfin-wise, it has nothing to do with the server. It's the Roku client. The Roku client is some bottom-grade trash, And I don't blame the developers. I blame Roku itself, because I was actually looking into seeing what I would need to do to start working on it, and Roku can't be bothered to have anything other than BrightScript, which is a Visual Basic knockoff without the GUI part of it. And on top of that, all of the debugging is done over Telnet. So if there's an error, it just spits it out onto. Oh yeah, gross. When you start looking into what it takes to develop a Roku app, one, Roku is a fucking embarrassment to engineers everywhere, and two, just when people aren't paid full time, because that's the thing. I wonder, for something like Tubi or Netflix or any of these apps, or Plex, for just to name a few, I wonder how many people are working on it full time and how much they're getting paid, because that's you would have to pay me quite a bit to even think about dealing with that bullshit. Roku does. If you're listening, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure it's not somebody from Roku who's writing the app for
No,
Jellyfin. It's
it'd
probably
be
a Jellyfin enthusiast who's writing the app for
volunteer
it.
developer, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. The actual company that runs Roku should be embarrassed, and I feel bad for anyone that is stuck writing BrightScript, because it's pretty gnarly, man.
So the Jellyfin clients, I've run it on Fire Sticks, Fire tablets, regular tablets, phones, and I've never had any problem.
It's gotten so out of hand with the Roku client. Well, I mean, I if any of you guys have Roku, I encourage you to try it to see what I'm talking about. it's not there, but I'm thinking about picking up either a Fire Stick or a one of those Chromecasts that come with Android TV on it. Just because I know that both of those options are gonna have better Jellyfin support than what my soundbar has on it. It's not Jellyfin's fault, it's Roku's fault. Or, like, as far as development teams go, it's not the people working on Jellyfin's fault that their app is trash. It's the development environment that they've been given to work in is just not ideal for anyone trying to be productive at all. I mean, debugging over Telnet in 2023, a couple years ago, they made this hullabaloo about how they were taking off sideloading apps for security, and they're releasing a new SDK. If you're still using BrightScript and debugging over Telnet, did you even change anything other than taking away people's ability to sideload? They don't even have a real, like, Twitch app. The solution, the community made a thing called Tuku, which was a Twitch client for Roku, and then Roku just comes out with the, oh yeah, you can't sideload apps on your TV anymore, so anything that you had just isn't gonna work. So I don't know. I've had enough issues, with Roku. I mean, a couple years ago, YouTube magically disappeared because Google and Roku couldn't fight or couldn't figure it out. I don't know. I'm tired and cranky. I'm sorry, guys.
It is getting late.
It's been a long day. I bought a new Nintendo Switch OLED and had an interesting interaction with a guy who, because I was trying to sell my old Switch, which I'd replaced some parts in and kind of touched up because it was broken, and GameStop wouldn't take it, but there was a guy lurking in the back of the store looking at PlayStation stuff. He flagged me down outside. He's like, "Hey, I'll give you $120 for it right now." I was like, "You know what? I'll take it." Sorry,
Cool.
not Linux related. It's the only
That's all right.
device.
It's tech related, so we'll talk about whatever.
It's my Nintendo Switch is the only device I have that doesn't technically run Linux, but everything else does.
I think it could run Linux. Didn't I see a port for Linux onto the...
Yeah, I
I've
think so.
gotten it to run on there. But it's a pain to hack it because you got to
Well,
use paperclip.
I was about to say, and it also depends because I'm pretty sure only the launch model ones can properly be. I don't think jailbroken is the right word for it, but hacked
You
into
technically
question mark.
Oh, you don't have one.
I don't have one.
You
I sold
sold
my
it.
launch model Switch, and I sold it because of performance issues. Games being released by Nintendo were just chugging, dude. I was like, okay,
Oh, you have to
this
get
thing's
the GTA stuff, all the remastered stuff that they did around. One of them should be Vice City, and let me know how much better it looks.
Is it on Switch? I
Yeah,
didn't think
that's where it is.
Definitive edition.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's where it is.
I never had it on there.
That's
and
the whole
so-
reason I want to get the Switch.
Oh.
That and modding. You know, I do
Well,
want to.
if it says anything, so I will never use Google Authenticator again. Something that I discovered is that I am locked out of about $300 worth of games from my Nintendo account because apparently at some point I set up Authenticator on there for 2FA, and I apparently at some point it must have been on my old phone because when I went to go into Authenticator on my new phone, which isn't new anymore, it's a year old at this point, tells you how much I get into Nintendo. I'm just locked out because when you use Google's transfer data stuff for Android, it doesn't carry over Authenticator. And
You have to go into Authenticator and tell it to allow multiple devices.
Yeah, that happened to a lot of people that locked out of their crypto accounts using
I can't tell
Authenticator.
you how fucking pissed I am at Google right now. I am telling you, I want to de-Google. I'm thinking about getting a Pixel 6 or whatever is the newest at the time.
You're talking about getting a Google Pixel so you can de-Googlefy?
No. Hear me out. It sounds retarded, but something with Google Pixels is that they are always guaranteed to be able to be rooted, and because of this, I want to run graphene so that I can properly start getting rid of Google services. I don't know if you guys heard the story about the guy who had to take pictures of his kid's junk to send to the kid's doctor.
Yeah.
Google just wiped 10 years of data because their AI found it, marked it as child porn, sent it to the police. And the police
while he
went
was
to
able
Google,
to get his legal stuff cleared up with the police and all that and CPS.
Google was basically like, fuck you anyways. Yeah, no, that's why I'm thinking about setting up my own Nextcloud instance. I'm trying to I need to figure out hosting for that though. I don't know how that's gonna work quite yet. I just what I do know is sometime within the next year or so, I need to get rid of anything Google related because they can't be trusted with anything.
You can just use Bing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's go from
use DuckDuckGo.
Debatably bad to also bad.
Okay, DuckDuckGo. You can say DuckDuckGo, but the back end for that is what? Google.
It's fucking. No, it's Yahoo, which is Bing. It gets more ridiculous the more you look into it, and then the fact that DuckDuckGo's algorithm has been being fucked with to show some results over other results.
Oh yeah, we talked about that before.
It's fucking ridiculous. There's no winning when somebody else controls the services that you use. There's just
until we come out with another form of internet, and that it will happen eventually. And then that will be actually free and open, and then eventually it will get regulated. It will get taken over by the advertisers, and there'll be another Google that takes over it, and we'll be in the same spot. And something new will have to come out.
We've got IPFS.
I mean,
we have Tor.
You just described how Jellyfin was created. Fucking MB decided to kamikaze and go fully paid, and the same thing happened to Plex. Plex is, by the way, Plex is dog food garbage. I think
These guys
I
would
think
disagree.
Oh no, I'm
well,
not disagreeing. I use it.
Here's the thing. You guys use it, but I mean, they're shoving random shit down your throats that I'm gonna guess you probably don't care about. The Jupiter guys were bitching about it, which kind of caught me off guard because
I haven't had a problem. What is the issue? I mean, I haven't seen anything that
it's their
outside of my
client.
server.
It's the Plex is trying to move away from the concept of NAS. Like the functionality is still there, but they really want to be a streaming service and aggregator, like a real one, not
Right.
local. And apparently they did something fairly recently that pissed the Jupiter guys off because a couple of them switched to Jellyfin. They like did an entire show about it.
Well,
Well,
I
for
know
the longest time, that was your only option was Plex. So they got a lot of people,
Yeah.
already on the service.
Well, I know that
I-
if you go to like the Plex stuff, I mean, you can see Plex's live TV, Plex's movies and shows, and Plex's music. But the way I'm set up, and I don't know what the difference is the only thing I see is stuff from my server.
The issue that the reason I don't use Plex is like a personal philosophical thing. I should not have to pay you money, whether it's like a $10 lifetime pass. It's the fucking principle. I should not have to pay you to use a server that I run, that I pay
Right.
the electricity
Well,
for, to keep the fucking lights on. That's my
right.
problem.
Right. Here's my thing, and the reason that I paid them. Now I did use it for years before I paid them money. So I used it, and it worked great. Even because the only thing that paying for it got you was the ability to use the app on mobile. And if you wanted to use it on mobile without the app, all you had to do was go and click "Show me the full desktop site." The rest of it,
yeah, I don't
paid
know.
them because I pay for the things that I use and I like and I want to be around later on.
Yeah.
Now, I did wait until there was one of their sales where it was pay the same price that we first offered, so I got the lifetime pass for like $70 and that was it.
Oh, is the life?
Yeah,
oh, the
before
lifetime
Thanksgiving, they run that
pass
every
is-
year.
The lifetime pass is more expensive than I thought. That's $70. That's pretty steep.
Well,
I
for a
don't know.
lifetime, it's not bad for a software license. I think you
yeah,
should pay
that's-
for software if you find it valuable. I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah, well, that leads us to, speaking of Jellyfin, that leads us to an interesting comment that I got from one of the lead devs over there. Jellyfin has gotten so much financial support that they've told people to stop donating money and start donating development time if you know C# because they have a serious lack of like labor over there, and they said that they have accumulated enough funds to run the cloud infrastructure for the whole thing for the next 15 years, which I thought was pretty insane.
Sounds a little nuts.
Yeah,
it does seem a little nuts.
I've never heard that from a project before. I mean, even fucking Wikipedia has that thing that they run every year. Like, and they're big. Wikimedia is huge.
I don't know what to say. Maybe Jellyfin just got a whole lot of money all at once.
Yeah. It seems odd that it's written in C# though.
Yeah, that is weird.
It's well, I mean, it's an MB fork. It's the community. It is very strange. I would not have chosen C# if it were me, but
Well, Jellyfin is probably where I'll go if Plex does get too commercialized, but it's not like I'm going to get my money back, so I will use it until it's not worth it to use it anymore.
You know, if you bought it, I'm not going to sit here and shit on you for using it because you paid for it, but I mean, I'm saying, like, if you're a new user, there is absolutely no real reason to pay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm opinionated. I grew up around free software. You know, I read the GNU Manifesto when I was in the 3rd grade, if that tells you anything. So I'm of the opinion that if I own the server, I should not have to pay for the software. There's nothing wrong with going over to Open Collective or something and dropping them $50-$100, but
I didn't have to pay was the whole thing. I didn't have to. I was not forced. I was using it without paying for the longest time. Paying for it really didn't get me anything extra from my point of view. It's just I wanted to support these guys because I was using their software.
Yeah,
I donate to open source projects quite often, stuff that I find valuable that I use, and it's really not much different.
I have put a shit ton of money into. Have you guys heard of Avalonia?
No.
It's not NAS related. It's a C# framework. Ironically enough, after I just got done shitting on C#.
Oh, don't worry. I'll shit on C# with you.
The Avalonia guys are doing something really cool. They took the Windows presentation framework and turned it into a completely cross-platform thing similar to Flutter, where you can just plug Windows apps that you've written into it, and it just goes on Mac and Linux. And so I thought I looked at that and I was like, you know what? I am just gonna set up a 20 a month donation to these guys through Open Collective, just because it's just it just gets better as time goes on. Like, I looked into it for the first time in a minute, like last month. They've come a long way, man.
There are other projects that I donated to that stuff I used for years, and then I donated to them, and then a week later they did something stupid and I quit using them. The one that comes to mind is Synergy.
What was
Synergy? If you're familiar,
he's taking it back.
Synergy is it's a mouse and keyboard sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have multiple computers, you set up Synergy on the 2 devices, and you have one mouse and keyboard. It's basically a virtual KVM, and then you just roll over to one side of the screen and you roll into the next computer. Synergy works pretty well, and then I had been using it for a long time, and then
is that FOSS? Was Synergy FOSS? There is no
Synergy,
way. I could have.
When it first came out, yeah, before they switched to their version 2, and yes, it was open source because there are forks that are open source. Yes, there's because Barrier is based on their open source version before they went closed. So what the reason I dropped them is because their version 2 only works if you're connected to the internet, and it's closed source. And so it has to leave your network, go out to the internet, and then come back in order to go across computers in your network. And I'm just not down with that.
That's weird.
That sucks. I've seen ads for them. I thought that was a really cool concept. I was like, oh, it works on Linux. I don't think it's free, but it works on Linux.
I use Barrier, but Barrier is a fork of their open source, and you can just install it directly from the repo.
Yeah, I'll have to look into Barrier. That's cool. I don't have any. If I had a Mac, I would totally be using that right now, probably. Not gonna lie to you. But so many tech YouTubers advertise Synergy. They never, in the past, 5 years?
It's been a long time since they were open source.
Yeah, I had no idea. I think you just blew my mind. I had no fucking clue, man.
So do you contribute to Barrier at all?
I have not, but I just started using it again. And last year I started using it again. So I'm giving it some time, seeing how I like it, and then I'll make the decision on whether or not to donate. I mean, it seems to work just like Synergy used to, but I'm still a little sore because of Synergy.
Mm-hmm. You got burnt.
Yeah. Linus Tech Tips used to do ads for them all the time.
Yeah, I was about to say that's where I primarily saw them, but they never. I mean, even back in 2018, they never really advertised them as like an open source solution. I don't know. I'm not saying don't contribute to open source projects. I do pretty fucking frequently. It's when you're forced to pay is what I have a problem with. You know.
Yeah, and you did. Now, I got the version 2 because I had donated to Synergy before the version 2 came out, so I could use it if I wanted to. As a matter of fact, I can still log into my account and download either version 1 or version 2 if I want to, but I don't want to. So, but
Also,
yeah, version 1
speaking-
was open source.
Speaking of, I'm not in a financial position to do so right now, but when I am probably going to be donating the Matrix because last I heard they were having trouble, and I kind of need them to exist.
Yeah, they're trying to support their infrastructure for matrix.org, which is what most people do. They want to eventually get rid of matrix.org so that people will just set up their own servers and do it like what Mastodon does, you know.
Don't worry, Danny. It will be another service that you randomly get kicked off of and are never allowed to use again and never know why.
Well, they can't because I own my own Matrix server, so
They'll find a way.
Is this like
they'll
a
break into my
common theme
house
with
and
you
just
guys?
smash my computer. I said, no more. You're done.
Well, he got nuked off of Discord and didn't know why.
They sent.
Okay,
I may still
I
have
hate
that
Discord.
little thing they sent me. Yeah, they never told me why. They just said you've been banned. It's great. I think it was because I was using like a Yahoo address and that probably got hacked or something, and who knows. I know Yahoo's been hacked many times.
Discord's TOS is really not there. I'm one of those people that's like I'm one of the quote unquote free speech absolutists where I believe you should be able to run your mouth and tell the world how fucking stupid you are. And their TOS is more restrictive than a lot of other services are in terms of what you can do and what you can't do. And so I don't really get on there anymore because of that. And I would argue that Matrix should supersede Discord. It's already better than Discord in a lot of areas, anyways.
The thing about
Matrix
Discord
Bridge is for
and other stuff like that is, and Telegram and everything is, I know what I'm getting into when I use those services, and I'm fine with it, as long as I don't take it so seriously that this is a place where I consider, storing data that I can't lose or conversations that I want to keep and not have other people listen to. You have to go into these services knowing what they're about and use them accordingly. If you don't, and you think, well, this is just my own server that I run and everything's fine, you're going to get a pretty rude awakening one day, and that's just not the way to go about it. So I don't use Discord anymore just because I got banned from there, but I use other services like Telegram and stuff that I understand what I'm getting into when I use this service, and I just think about it that way, But for the most part, I use Matrix and
censorship issue.
and Mastodon and things like that. Now I do find value in services like Facebook and stuff for their marketplace, which Joe does too. You find some good deals on there, and you can sell stuff on there and find free stuff, and so I do find value in those services for certain things. Now I do my best to limit whatever information they have from me. Like I don't install the app, and I use the Facebook website within the Firefox container and things like that. But there's only so much you can do if you choose to use it. Like I still, if I'm selling stuff on Facebook, I kind of have to install Messenger just so I can communicate with people. And then as soon as I quit selling, when I finish selling stuff, I uninstall it. Just like I have to install 5 Mile or OfferUp or stuff like that. And I'm aware they collect my data, but it's a trade I make to get rid of stuff that I need to get rid of.
I have to keep Messenger.
I don't care about the data. I care about putting a noose around my neck and threatening to kick the chair out from under me if I say the wrong thing. That's what I have an issue.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's part of it, you know.
That's part
It's
of being on the internet.
Yeah,
Well,
Cancel
that's part of
culture.
you. That's part of using other people's servers. In other words.
That's why
But-
I've been trying not to.
Well, you're using
Yeah.
someone else's server right now, but
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm
but
not
I
going
also
to kick you off,
trust-
though.
But-
that's the thing. You have to trust the people running the server.
Right,
If you
no,
don't
the
trust
whole
people
thing-
running the server, there's no point.
you can trust all of us. That's perfectly fine. But we're going out on an RSS. And we're going
Oh,
out
yeah,
on
obviously.
YouTube, and you say the wrong thing, and you're canceled, and then, but we're small time, so it's not going to happen to us.
They're not going to
just-
cancel the RSS, but yeah,
All
YouTube
five
will. But
all 5 people that listen to us, you know.
Well, I
Listen,
was thinking.
there's
I was
been
thinking
30
about,
hits to that YouTube. All right.
Awesome.
I was thinking about the first time I got on.
We haven't
I
even
had
brought
that
up
fucking
the whole ISP argument that we're, you know, so to start your own ISP is almost cost prohibitive for everybody.
No. I
Okay.
remember the early days when you could definitely start up your own ISP, but
Yeah.
Dude, that is not something I would do like as a realistic thing. That's something I would do for myself as
Well,
like an educational thing.
I
but
wouldn't
no,
even
you're
run
right.
my own mail server anymore. That's just way too much damn work.
It is a lot.
It's
It can be a lot of
it's
work.
too much like work.
Hmm.
It would be like getting off of work and going and doing more of the stuff that I do at work.
You have to be a sociopath to run your own mail server.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, if I told you guys that I want to write my own operating system,
That's
like
fine.
just as like it, but no.
Everybody
sane
has their
person
own breed of
does that.
insanity.
It'd be the new
Yeah,
Temple OS.
King Terry would be proud.
I still want to get that guy on the show that knew that guy.
Yeah, I want you to too.
Dude, Terry was such an interesting individual. I just,
He was a sad case.
yeah.
He was a
it really
genius,
is
but it shows
Oh,
you what
yeah.
mental illness can do to a person.
the American healthcare system failed him so fucking hard, dude.
It
It's
fails
actually
everybody.
heartbreaking. Oh yeah.
No, I will say that, something good that's happened recently is what the diabetes medication, insulin, being capped at like $35.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of awesome.
Oh, did they cap insulin finally?
Well, now it only legally got capped for Medicaid and Medicare recipients.
Yeah.
But one of
Okay,
the
fair
major producers, when they saw this recently, I can't remember which major producer it was off the top of my head, also capped at 35. So there are 2 other major producers of insulin that also would need to do it for it to be really locked in at 35. But with one of the major producers locking it in at that price, and if they are available for all pharmacies to get to, then the others are eventually going to have to come down from the thousands of dollars a month that it costs now.
Yeah,
Ju-
that's something I'm not affected by that, but I've seen it, and it makes me happy to hear that there's progress. I
I was
didn't
thinking
know
about that today, Joe, about how many years had they now been selling it for hundreds
100.
to thousands of dollars, and that now they can just sell it for 35 and it not affect them. So just think about how much profit they made all those years. It's crazy.
What really pisses me off is the guy that originally made it did it without a patent specifically to prevent shit like this, and then these big pharmas come in and they're ramming the fist up everybody's ass.
The same way with the polio vaccine. He didn't patent that on purpose. Yep.
Penicillin, but at least that stayed pretty low price.
What? Did y'all want to look at the Reddit?
Oh, were we supposed to be checking links?
Well,
we were
Honky
having such a
posted-
good conversation.
Honky posted some good Windows news on here. Y'all might want to read.
That's not surprising.
It's been an interesting week.
Moses.
Did you guys have you guys been keeping up with the Rust version of Cosmic by chance?
No.
So there has been some more leaked screenshots from the devs over there. They're working on a new code editor, apparently. It's amazing what one company is doing. and how far they've come in such a short amount of time.
Talking
Compared
about
to
System
something
76?
Yeah, System 76. Say what you will about their expensive Clevo rebrands, but their software is actually pretty solid, to be honest with you. I don't use Pop OS. I'm on Ubuntu right now, but I'm planning to switch to Fedora for my desktop. Just too much spicy stuff happening at Canonical that I'm not a fan of personally.
Oh, we have some stories about that too.
Oh.
About the
I want to read
Flatpak
this.
debate.
Flatpak, yeah. I read all the threads.
Oh yeah.
There was a
Flatpak.
lot of hostility. I don't know, man. Like on the desktop, snaps make no sense. I understand the argument that they're good for servers. Okay, they're good for servers. They're not good for desktops. And the way that they're architected from the bottom up will continue to make them inferior on the desktop. As long
So
as
snaps
you're
also
running
use
it,
shared libraries.
just I have had so many it just clutters your it clutters Nautilus with loopback devices. Like I remember when I first used them on accident, not knowing. I open up Nautilus and I see in the sidebar what looks like 1,000 thumb drives, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? And so then I realized, oh, there's that. And then I started looking at RAM usage. RAM usage was not exactly stellar either. That was a couple years ago. They might have changed it since then, but I think for me, the biggest issue with Snap above all else isn't anything that's mentioned. It's the fact that there is no way to run your own Snap Store server. Like, Canonical just wants it to be a walled garden, and I'm just not with it.
So,
Understandable.
That's why I'm moving to Emacs.
What did you want to talk about, Joe? You said
I wanted to look at this. Linux now officially supports Apple Silicon. Well, kind of.
yeah, that story was withdrawn later after I posted that, or was proved to be somewhat false. The way they had explained it in that article was that as long as you're running that latest kernel, the OS you're running, you could install any OS on Apple Silicon, and that's actually not true. It has a lot more to do. There's a lot more to it than just the kernel. So
Was it not
Okay, well,
merged into
tell me about
6.2?
it.
it kind of got debunked. They were saying you don't have to run Asahi now to run Linux on Apple Silicon, on the M1 at least. But you actually do, because there's a lot more to Asahi than just the latest kernel. They do a lot of modifications just to get it to run on Apple Silicon. So Linux itself does not officially support Apple Silicon, but Asahi Linux does.
So does anyone know what those patches that were released upstream were for then exactly?
It was for. Are you talking about the ones that Asahi released?
Yeah, the ones at that article. I'm pretty sure I know which article you're talking about. They were talking about, oh, 6.2 got this, and that, and now anything that runs that can run on M1 MacBooks. Like, what were those patches for? Were those patches non-existent and the whole thing was a farce?
No, they existed, but there is more than to running it on M1 than just the kernel was the point. There was all these stories that came out to say, oh, how you can run games on Linux on Mac now. You don't have to worry about Mac ports of games and all this other stuff. When the what do you call it? The driver for the just to view a screen, your screen driver just barely even works. Not to mention you're pretty much CPU bound. So
if somebody got Linux entirely working on M1 hardware, I guarantee that Apple the next day would completely stop supporting M1 hardware.
Mm-hmm.
completely.
Do any of you guys own any Apple Silicon Macs by chance?
No, of course not.
No, okay,
What do you
that's
think? I'm
fair.
Richie Rich over here?
Yeah, that's. Well, I was looking at getting a Mac earlier, like a few months ago, because I was like, well, what would it cost? You know, what would, like, I was like, I saw he's there. What would that entail? And I started looking at the hardware specs, and even their highest end ones, like in the thousands of dollars, like just for MacBooks, not like the Mac Pro or any of that nonsense, just like the laptops. Their laptops do not come with what I would consider like a sufficient amount of storage or RAM, and
Well,
I'm pretty sure those things are soldered on,
yeah.
which is ridiculous.
They basically didn't get an update to their hardware from 2012 through 2019. So if you're looking for something a little older, anything in that time frame, if you're just looking to putz around, yeah, it'll work fine.
Well, I was more interested in the Apple Silicon ones because I wanted to dick around with
Oh, the M1s.
yeah, the
not gonna happen.
cores, the cores, like how they're prioritized and stuff. I wanted to go in there and see, but I was looking at the pricing and I was looking at what I was getting for those prices, and I'm like, I could get so much better x86 hardware for half the price of this.
And the thing is they retain their value even through their first sale. So a used device you can still pay a lot for.
Unless the original owner never released it from their account, then they just scrapped the M1s. Did y'all hear about that?
Also, if we're gonna go down the Apple rabbit hole, some
Honky!
interesting, some
Not
interesting.
Oh, I'm right here.
Sorry.
Some
I know
Yeah.
you're right there, but are you awake?
Yeah, I'm just
something
listening and playing around with this.
caught my attention was apparently outside of the U.S. now, about 50% of Gen Z is now moved over to iPhones, which is concerning because I say what you will about Android, but I really don't want iPhones being the market leader.
Oh my God, what is
everywhere.
it? 1996? Did you just pull out a whole bunch of CDs? I mean, seriously.
Oh yeah, I'm currently installing a bunch of games on my XP machine. I have a bunch of games.
Nice.
This isn't even like a dent in my collection though.
This may be blasphemy, but I actually trust Apple more than I do Google with my privacy as far as data goes. And especially when it comes to like the FBI or the government wanting to see my data, I think Apple has a much better track record of keeping that stuff private.
Yeah, that is true. They keep it internal to themselves in a lot of cases.
Right. But that
My issue with usually with like iPhones and stuff like that is you wind up getting stuck into their walled garden and you're kind of stuck in there for
Once you buy
unable to
one
get
thing,
out.
you have to buy more of their things.
Right. To be able to function with that one thing that you have, and everything uses, all their applications you wind up paying for and going in with their stuff and getting stuck in. So what is that, Joe, that you keep on shoving in our face here?
Oh, it's a GamePi 20. You
Game
can't really
Pi
see
20.
it. Can't really see it, but it's running RetroArch or
Cool.
What's inside there?
RetroPie. It's the Pi 0.
The original one?
No, 0W.
Oh, not
the
Pi
2,
2
but the
0.
0W.
Yeah. What like up to what console can you run on there?
I've been trying. I still haven't been able to get anything from Neo Geo to work, and I haven't been able to get MAME to work yet. But that's BIOS issues. I've been, yeah, that's cool too.
RC, what is that?
This has got a full-on Raspberry Pi 3 in it.
Oh.
My son's old WaveShare had the Raspberry Pi 3 in it, but he broke the screen on it, so not much I can do with that. Except reclaim the 3B that's in it.
One of the things that people found out a little while ago is that a lot of Mac stuff phoned Apple whenever you launched an application. And when their servers went down, a lot of people were finding their software wasn't working because it wasn't able to phone home.
Yeah, I think they give that ability to devices. So I told you guys that I had gotten one that was laying around at work, not used, but it also had software on there that locked it down, or that could be lock down the tablet itself, and it can be done by like application basis. And so but that was kind of their selling point too, is that they can give it to people to use for work, but they can lock it down so that people can't use whatever application they wanted. So the Apple thought of that as a feature, not as a bug. It's just everybody else, all of a sudden, when their systems go down, it all of a sudden seems like a bug, or is a bug.
So have you been able to do anything with that?
I got it running. So I got there was two of them. One of them went to me. One of them went to my assistant, and I was able to get mine
Eli,
flashed.
wave that Raspberry Pi thing in the camera.
Somebody's doubled.
Not it. Oh, it might be it.
It's
Yeah.
Hopper on Jitsi.
Mute your mic on Jitsi.
So what? Now what
There we
about
go.
the
I got
iPads?
it.
So I was able to somehow reflash the one I have, and so that the software that kind of closes it off, I forget the name of it right now. I was able to bypass it. It says it's on there. Like if you go into settings at the top, it says that it's still on there. But if you go into accounts, the control account is not on there. So I can still install whatever, and everything works fine. Now the one I tried to do for my assistant, I tried reflashing it, and then I was just stuck at the login screen. I wound up having to pay $40 for some software to just click a button and have the thing fucking unlocked. And his is working completely fine with nothing whatsoever, no problems whatsoever, and it runs. So
what have you done with it so far?
not much of anything. It's a tablet. I mean, I put what I put on. Actually, I put a game on there. So
Are you able to watch stuff from Jellyfin on there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
That's mostly what you do
accessing
with the
a web
tablet.
page, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it, but it's basically a web page. But yeah, I put all of my movie stuff on there, and Netflix and Prime Video, and
See, I can't even do that on my NVIDIA Shield. They quit updating the software for it, so I have the version of Android is so old that none of the streaming apps work on it anymore.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Hey,
Minnix,
how is that?
It used to be awesome when it worked, when I could actually do something with it.
Oh, they were actually worth picking up?
Oh yeah, it was awesome, man. NVIDIA
Shields, yeah.
K1
I was
tablet.
too young. My parents wouldn't let me have a job in high school. I wanted one of those when I was 16 so bad.
It was great, man. And I used it to with Moonlight too, which used to be Limelight, which was game streaming, so I could stream from my Steam box, my Steam computer to that, and I played a bunch of games on it. I had a little Bluetooth keyboard, and then I watched all these movies and stuff on there. But I mean, about the only thing I can use it for now. I can't even watch Prime or anything. I have to just do VLC, watch movies on it. At least that still works.
Did you set up? Is there like a working browser on it, or?
Yeah, the browser works. I mean, I could do. You know what I haven't done yet, but just because it's not really optimized for the Shield, is install Kodi on there. I could try that and see, if that works. But really, I'd like to just put a regular Linux, operating system on there. That's like or not Linux. I mean, open source Android operating system on there. But none of them support the Shield anymore.
Oh no, I was going to say is where you can like root it and put like a, I don't know, some open source version.
Which I can't really complain because they're all they try to support the most recent hardware. So it's kind of like the what's that Windows RT tablet I got?
Oh right, yeah.
That was given to me. Yeah, that I just can't do anything with. Surface RT. Because I mean, there's
completely
ways.
locked down.
Yeah,
you have to rerun the jailbreak every time you turn it on in order to be able to run alternate applications that are not from the store.
And if you want to run
Windows 8.
If you want to run Linux on it, you have to connect it to a Linux computer to boot correctly before you can boot into Linux. Every single time you turn it off.
Oh
wow!
Oh my god,
man, I just don't want to do that.
I have a related story. I have a related story. I bought a Surface Pro either 6 or 7 back a few years ago, and Fedora and Ubuntu for some reason don't have drivers that work with the volume buttons, the power/lock button, and parts of the keyboard and the touchscreen. So the whole thing is just like you have to leave it plugged into the wall to be useful. The experience I had with like a modern relatively modern, it was an i7 in it. It was so bad. I've been meaning to pull it out of storage to see, because like there was a kernel module on GitHub that you could have patched in, but I could never get it to compile. I don't know. If you run Linux, don't get a Surface. That's the only advice I really have.
I understand that it works pretty well on like the Surface 3, but something like the Surface 7 might be a little bit new. And I do know one of the Norbert from Mintcast, he runs a Surface 3, which is why I say that, and he's able to get the kernel installed, and it does require the custom kernel to run correctly.
I mean, that little Surface RT would be awesome. I mean, just that, all I would need is just access to terminal, so I could, do whatever I need to do to my servers and stuff on the go. And it's so small, it'd be perfect for that. But they just got it locked down, man.
You should see if what's it called? The Windows subsystem for Linux runs on your RT now.
Oh, I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
It comes
because it's
with
basically virtual.
It's 8.1. They don't have that for 8.1, do they?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Maybe it's just a pipe dream of mine, but I want a lapdock and I want Ubuntu on DeX. That would be the like ideal thing for me.
Yeah, you're SOL on that because specifically
Samsung.
You're about 3 years too late.
Oh, dude, that
no,
pissed me off
I
so
had
bad.
it when it was new. It never went out of beta. That's
because I was never able to get it. I wanted it. I saw it. It was cool.
I used it, dude.
I wanted to. And then I bought the 10 specifically, the Note 10 Plus specifically because Android DeX, it's going to be able to do it. And then I got it, and like the day after I picked it up, they were like, no, we're not supporting Linux on DeX anymore. Sorry. And here's an update. So all the old phones that had the Linux on DeX, that's not going to work on those anymore.
They gimped it, and that made me so mad because I was actually a Linux on DeX user, and it was a full proper GNOME desktop. I thought it was really cool. I was like, this is the future. This is what. This is what the Ubuntu phone was supposed to be. And
evidently there just weren't enough people that actually used it, other than a few enthusiasts. I went from the 7, which couldn't run it, to the 10, which then couldn't run it, and I missed all the ones in the middle. And it was just extremely disappointing.
Well, what made me mad about it was I wanted to use it as a proper, because Samsung phone is going to have more horsepower than a Raspberry Pi, obviously.
Right.
And I had a Note 9, and the Note 9 ran it perfectly.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I wanted to use it to compile AArch64 binaries natively, because it could do it. It was up to the task. And so when they took it away, I was like, are you serious right now? And now I got to go back to going through what is it, Kimu?
Yeah. Oh. And I kept waiting for some alternative to pop up, or them to give you another way to do the exact same thing if you wanted to, but nope, they just bricked it and said, nah, I'm not letting you do it. Sorry.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I may have to
It's getting late.
drop off.
I don't blame you.
Night, Miner. All right, I wanted to touch quickly on the whole Flatpak issue. I mean, it seems like one of the big things was Ubuntu decided that they were gonna drop support completely for Flatpak. They won't allow anybody to have allow Flatpaks into the system. Basically, you could probably sideloaded the FlatHub store, and it came at the same time that the Flatpak people decided that they were going to do a revamp of everything. And it basically just seems like they're trying to do a rebranding, and they talk about wanting to have the ability to basically to be like the store for Linux applications and even have paid products in there. I really wanted to get other people's thoughts as to how they felt about that, just as a whole, with FlatHub, and how what people's opinions are at Ubuntu's, in my opinion, overreaction to that.
Don't change
They
FlatHub.
They just made all they did with Flatpaks was make it so that they weren't, in the base release. You can still go in and install it. It and then use it to install all the Flatpaks that you want.
You can pull it down from Universe still, if I remember correctly.
I want to say they put more into trying to block it, though.
Well, they told it, okay. So what you put up here was Canonical has issued an official edict. The approved Ubuntu remixes must remove Flatpak support as of the next release. The various Ubuntu flavors are not Canonical products. Only the original Ubuntu with the GNOME desktop is the real thing. Even so, the company does have some control, as it's Canonical that officially sanctions and endorses what is an additional flavor, like what they put on their website.
That does bother me a little bit when they're telling flavors that if you want to be official flavors, you have to do this and not install that.
Right.
Well, what they, their whole thing is it's competing with Snap. So they said, from the next release, no official variant shall support Flatpak anymore. Only Snap is to be built in. The Flatpak plugin for Software Store will be removed as well.
It's the invasion. It's the invasion into APT that gets me. The amount of modifications and setup you have to do when you go to install Ubuntu to get it to not install the Snap Store when you want to install it. Like I had to modify a couple of things in the APT place in the etc. It's been a while since I've done it, but I mean, I've read that that's changed, so now there's more you have to do. I'm not quite sure. I just want my computer to work, man.
That's why I jumped to MX.
There you go.
I jumped from... I've been a Mint user for a long time, but now they're going to strong-arm even... Although I don't know how Mint is going to handle it.
Oh, Mint is safe. Mint's creator came out and basically said, fuck Snap.
Yeah, no, Mint blocks Snap out of the box. You have to jump through some hoops to get Snaps installed on Mint.
Well, I still think I'm going to go MX because I just find the MX tools for my level of Linux foo, they seem to fit me. And
MX is Arch, right? It's a Arch derivative.
No. Debian.
No?
Debian, yeah.
Yeah, okay, only a few. This change only affects official remixes. So PopOS, LMDE, MX, Mint, all of these non-official Ubuntu derivatives are safe.
Yeah,
right.
And MX is I know a lot of people that use MX, and I've used MX specifically for the fact that it doesn't use System D. out of the box. You can make it use systemd, but a lot of people have issues with it, so it's easier just to have a couple of distros that don't use it.
Devlin.
Yeah.
Well, I've enabled systemd because I don't have a problem with systemd. I have a problem with Snap, but
Okay, now this addresses also something we were talking about as far as running your own Snap store. It says it's perfectly. There is only one official Snap store. It's perfectly possible to run your own if you wish. There's nothing proprietary in there. The APIs are documented. The tools to publish a Snap store online are in Ubuntu's repository. As we covered a year ago, the maintainer of Ubuntu Unity published his own Snap store called LOL as proof of concept.
Oh, I didn't know that. That I guess I stand corrected if that's true. Just from what I've heard, they didn't. There's a lot of things. Canonical overall, if you go look at the past 15, 20-ish years or however long they've been around, it's just time after time after time again. NIH syndrome. I mean, they created for God's sake, they created their own, what's it called? Bazaar to replace Git. I don't know. It's just, they have like a long list of things. I mean, Mir competing with Wayland, Unity competing with GNOME. And each time the community has basically said, yeah, we're not using that. And so but none of the times have been as visceral. I don't think. Maybe Unity, but I mean the Snap versus Flatpak. I mean most people have formed an opinion by now on whether or not they're going to use it, and that's just how it's going to be, you know.
Well, there was a lot of pushback for systemd, and then there was a lot of pushback.
Still is
for GNOME 3, which did eventually, go away. But
there were whole distros created just to not include systemd. I remember that.
Yeah,
it still is.
I will give you that. I was actually taken aback when Upstart was replaced with systemd. I was actually really surprised they did that, because that was the one thing they could have gotten away with not doing.
So I thought that most of that stuff was geared towards Ubuntu trying to run a operating system both on a mobile device plus the computer itself. So they spent a lot of time, effort, and money to create something. So Mir was supposed to work with mobile plus the desktop. Snaps was supposed to be kind of like a containerization version of kind of like an APK. But try to use it both as for mobile and for the desktop, where it was containerized all in one thing, and then they can the same type of thing can be run on multiple devices.
Mir, it's one of those things that, if I'm understanding correctly, is, I mean, it still exists. It's a Wayland compositor ? At this point. It's integrated. It's been integrated with Wayland at this point. Like, it's still around. It's just not the same product that it was before.
It's used with UB ports, from my understanding.
Oh yeah, no, I think the fact that you can still run, like, I think it's called Lomi. Like, they're still working on that, and I think it's really cool that the community stepped up and is maintaining a lot of that stuff, because I'm not shitting on the Ubuntu phone or anything like that. I think it's a really cool project. I just think the amount of entrenchment that it involved was very polarizing, if that makes sense.
You should completely shit on Ubuntu phone. I mean, it's still not daily driver ready.
No, it's not.
It's not bad, though.
I like the idea of convergence. I really do. I don't want to sit here and discourage that because one person in the market failed, you know? But, I mean, it's Wayland. There was really
I don't want to say that anybody on the market has failed. I'm going to say that anybody on the market is yet to succeed.
I mean, would you call the Ubuntu phone a success? There was supposed to be a physical product.
It's just yet to succeed.
So it kind of seems like they went all in on this whole idea and put all of these other efforts into it, and now they're just kind of like, well, we spent all this time and effort and money. This is our stuff. We made snaps. If you want to be an Ubuntu thing, you got to keep up with it, keep using the snaps and.
It is a for-profit company, you know. Canonical.
Right.
Listen, the original purpose of snaps actually made a lot of sense, and so they're shoehorning it into desktop, and that's really the core of the issue, is the shoehorning it into where people use, you know. It's different when it's on a server. It's not an issue when it's on a server. It's when you're running Firefox in it, and Firefox constantly lags and crashes, and other perf issues, and then the aforementioned loopback nonsense. It's the right tool for the job, you know. Like I wouldn't use snaps on desktop for the same reason I wouldn't tell you to use Flatpaks on servers.
I don't think you can.
Yeah,
exactly, and arguably shouldn't.
Personally, I mean, I don't care necessarily where it's coming from. I haven't run into an issue where a Flatpak or snap has burned me in any way.
I haven't either.
I'm a lot happier just pulling stuff straight from a repo, though, just because I feel like when it does, it's doing a check to make sure that I have everything that I need and stuff. When I don't know, I feel better from a repo, but I don't think that there's any. I don't feel one way or any other. I don't care.
It feels like I'm doing a whole lot less of dancing around.
I think
can we talk about Certbot? Can we talk about Certbot for a second?
Well, Flatpaks are moving ahead as storage becomes cheaper, I think, is the main driver for this, because, you know, you've got everything you need, dependencies within the Flatpak, and you don't have to worry about any kind of missing dependencies or things like that. And sometimes even pulling from a repo, you run into dependency issues. So
right.
That's really why you know, Fedora is pushing Flatpak like they are.
See, and I run Manjaro. Manjaro, they have like their little store, little app store, but the app store can pull either snaps, Flatpaks, AUR, or regular distro, you know, the repositories.
Right.
And it does it seamlessly, but, you know, I don't have to download FlatHub or anything. What's your issue with Certbot?
Question.
Hold on. So the sort of pseudo related to this, when I was trying to get Let's Encrypt going on my NAS, one of the issues that I hit was that I'm still trying to track it down. I need to compile Certbot from source.
Why?
And because what had happened was I was running Ubuntu server at the time that I was doing the NAS, and so my brain was like, oh, it's a snap, because they got rid of the deb packages, guys. It's snap only now. And so I was like, my brain was like, okay, well, it's Ubuntu server, so I guess I'll just pull down the snap. And for whatever reason, snap refused to pull it down from canonical servers. And so I went looking for the source, and I don't remember what the result was, but something prevented me from pulling it down and properly getting it, if that makes sense.
I don't know.
I also prefer compiling things from source when I can. I'm a nerd, but just I don't know.
Why aren't you running Gentoo instead of Ubuntu?
Well, because I don't want to compile the whole system. I like to cherry pick.
Linux
I'm
from
not afraid
scratch.
to admit that. Yeah, if you're not cross compiling a toolchain to cross compile it to a Linux from scratch system, I don't know what you're doing on Linux.
Do you really run Linux if you don't run Linux from scratch?
Yeah, exactly.
The only time I will compile stuff is if I have to.
Right? If it's required.
Yep.
If there's a legal obligation.
No, that doesn't mean I just add random repos to my system either, but
Right.
I try to avoid it if I can.
Well, I pulled stuff down from the AUR, and that's basically recompiling it.
Oh yeah.
I like to
But the
when
AUR
I
has
can.
tracking too, unlike just random applications. You can update through the AUR.
I'll add a caveat. I'll add a caveat in here. Speaking of compiling lower level stuff, a caveat is if I need a cut, like for example the Surface thing we're talking about. If I need a kernel driver specifically and it's source available, I will pull it down and do it myself just for integrity.
On desktop, I pretty much moved over to strictly Flatpak now, as long as it's available. I don't really use repoed packages. For server stuff, it just depends what I'm, more than likely it's going to be some kind of native install, which I will have to build, like Mastodon and stuff like that, but those are fairly easy to update. If not, I'll use a Docker Compose file and just pull Docker Compose to update the containers, kill the containers and update them. So that's how I usually run my server stuff. Matrix is all native, except for Synapse is downloaded through Matrix repo. But the rest of the stuff, I pretty much do it the easy way if I can get away with it.
I'm gonna have to get off here in a couple minutes, but
yeah, we all are.
Question. Yeah, one last question that I have before I go. What is everyone's thoughts on Silverblue? Fedora.
Silverblue's great. It's just a Flatpak distro, basically.
I know nothing.
Just Fedora's Flatpak's distro. It's all Flatpaks.
I saw that and I was like, I have to try that at some point. It is just too damn cool from an engineering standpoint to not try at some point.
It's immutable Flatpak distro. I would try it. I mean, on my desktop, my laptop. I mean.
All right. Well, with that, it is 12:30 at night where I am, so I gotta I gotta skedaddle, guys.
All right, man.
It was good talking to you guys, though. It's been a minute.
Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good night, man.
All right, you too, guys.
All right, one last thing I wanted to bring up before was, let me see if I can pull it up. The 140 megabyte mini Ubuntu ISO.
Oh, that looked interesting.
So it seems like reading through it seems like it's basically just a net install, but it's like a base system to do a net install.
Really? Oh, I figured it was like a puppy Linux or something.
I don't think so.
It's an official Ubuntu release too, right?
Yes. Well, it's going to be, I think. But they're kind of wording it like it's a net install.
Well, it's past time for that. How long's Debian been doing net installs?
Well, right. This is Ubuntu's version of it.
I'm looking at the article now. Use a simple stream to select the image, allowing for various customizable image selections.
It is a small bootable ISO that can be used with small storage devices like CD, USB drives, and even via UEFI HTTP. For the latter, a dynamic TUI terminal user interface menu of the Ubuntu image will be shown, allowing you to download and install the image of your choice on the target system.
The hell was that?
Morton C.
So is this just a way to install? Is this a gateway to install like a full-fledged Ubuntu?
That's what he's saying. A net installer.
That's what it looks like.
I mean, that's how I'm reading it anyway.
Yeah. Which, anything that you can use to try to do a net install, I think is good. I usually, when I would install Debian, would usually use the net install.
Well, that's what all my VMs are Debian net installs. I do like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. It seems like an interesting idea.
What else I like is what's catching on is a browser installs now, where you just plug the USB into the machine and you go to a local IP on your network and you start the installation from the browser. I think that's pretty cool.
I haven't seen those, but I think that's what it was talking about here with the TUI, the terminal user interface.
Yeah, FreeBSD kicked that off, actually. They were one of the first ones to do that. I think Fedora is working on a browser install and a couple other distros. That's nice because you don't need to hook up a dang monitor to it.
Yeah, I think if they came up with a micro distro, like just basically like a very, very tiny one, that would be cool too. But
well, one step at a time.
All right.
What about your tiny windows?
Tiny windows.
Next to your tiny balls.
Next to your tiny doors. Yeah, on the subreddit.
What is it? Oh.
For the Raspberry Pi. Tiny 11, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
That would just feel so weird to run Windows on a Raspberry Pi.
Well, didn't they have like a Windows 10 version or something that was made specifically for the Pi?
I don't even remember that.
Sucked and nobody used it.
Yes. I thought this was funny because it was a tiny Windows 11 for the ARM64 Raspberry Pi.
And this isn't official, right? This is something that somebody stripped down and for other people to use. I mean, it's not official Microsoft, is what I'm saying.
No, I don't think it's official, no. Hey, you need a Windows 10 PC too to be able to create the bootable image.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Why?
That's how you do.
Windows breeds Windows.
That's the danger.
Yep, they have I think they have like a little installer too.
Well, I think that's okay. You know, people want to experiment with Raspberry Pis and all they know is Windows and kind of lowers the barrier to entry. Then
Bet
maybe
you runs like garbage.
Let's see. Wow, Raspberry Pi's been around for 11 years. That's crazy.
Long time now.
So what is it? I wonder what resources it uses. Yeah, it looks like they're creating the image from root Windows.
Yeah, Windows 11 in 8 gigs maximum. I think how much resources does it use? I would say all of them.
Right? At least all of them.
It says it's fairly usable.
And maybe some of the resources in the computer next to it.
Right?
It says Tiny 11 feels pretty good when running from a USB 3 drive, but we can make it better. It shows you how to overclock the Pi 4 to make it, I guess, actually run. You need good cooling. Huh. Oh, they also go into the BIOS, disable limit RAM to 3 gigabytes. This will enable Windows 11 to have access to all the RAM. They have a picture of the specs here. I was trying to enlarge it, but it's not clickable. Can you see what that's using?
What for processor? Not the processor and stuff.
Memory. Oh, 1.7 out of 7.9 gigs. It's not bad. But that's just to run the task manager.
Right.
Speed 2.10 gigahertz. So they really overclocked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So is this your next project, Honkey?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to take my Raspberry Pi 4 that's running multiple servers, and I'm going to take it apart just so I can use this.
There you go.
This does not surprise me in the least. It sounds like a very honky thing to do.
He's
Absolutely
turned on us.
Nuke it all. Run fricking Windows.
Yep. Be with like all my other Windows 10 11 machines I have kicking around, and 10 and
8.
8. Oh,
XP.
I love 8.1. 8 and 8.1.
I prefer 8 over 8.1 any day.
Hey, that's true. That Metro UI, you can't beat that Metro UI. Not even with a stick.
But hey, you know, all my machines, I'm surprised they don't run Vista.
What is the new Windows? What's the newest Windows server? Do you guys know? I bet Morrissey knows. He has to deal with Windows at work.
With what?
Do you know what the newest version of Windows Server is?
2019?
Is it? Okay. That sounds right.
By the way, since he's running an 8 gig Raspberry Pi, the base clock on that is 1.8 gigahertz.
Okay, so he overclocked it to 2.1. Maybe that's why
You better
he
have
says
some really good cooling.
you need some good cooling on that. Yeah.
Like a bucket.
Well, on the Pis, that when I used to have Raspberry Pis, I always had little fans in the cases, except for the original Raspberry Pi B. I still have that one. It doesn't work.
Actually, they have a lot of pretty heavy duty cooling. We're talking heat pipes and stuff like that, and pretty good sized fans. It looks like a X64 cooler, really.
Really?
They get pretty towery.
That's crazy.
I've seen that Ice Tower. Is that what it's called? The one for the big one for the Raspberry Pi, something like that. Yeah, it is tall.
I just have a metal case and do passive cooling. All right, one other thing I really wanted to point out was, well, where'd it go? Emacs is now on F-droid.
I know you've all wanted to use Emacs on your Android phone, and now you can.
There you go.
It even includes org mode.
Yep.
So if you wanted to run it like it's an operating system, I thought that was kind of funny. Has anybody here, do y'all use Emacs? I've used it in the past, or tried to use it.
Pass.
But,
in the distant past.
I have tried briefly both Vim and Emacs, and neither one actually suited my capabilities.
I've tried Vim. I couldn't get out of it or get a cursor in it. So, and I tried Nano, and Nano just worked. So I stuck with Nano. And
If you ever want to switch, I'm still enough of a beginner Vim user that I can teach you.
how about get a cursor? I just want a cursor.
How do you exit?
Honky, you forgot the most important story on here.
Oh, running Dreamcast on a what was it?
Yeah, Dreamcast
Oh, running
Linux.
Linux on a Dreamcast.
Uh-huh. Do you guys remember Dreamcast Linux?
No. I told you, if I have a Dreamcast, it's going to be running more games. One of my favorite game consoles.
It runs NetBSD by default. Did you guys know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So you can run, this guy, he goes through the whole thing of running Linux on the Dreamcast. He even has a, what do you call it? A frame buffer. It's not exactly a desktop, but I guess you can run commands. He has, he's running Doom on it through the frame buffer.
Why? But just get the disc, slap it into the machine, run it right. Don't put Linux on there just to play Doom.
Oh, he says the official Dreamcast Linux comes with a Zorg server. The included version is Xfree 86336. Interestingly, reporting itself as running on i686, probably as a cross compilation artifact. I said you'll need the Dreamcast mouse for this, and you really want swap over NFS running as well, or the GD-ROM will really thrash. You get one resolution, 640 by 480. But what sucks is that the session opens windows that are too big for the screen, so you can't see everything.
Waste of a good Dreamcast.
No, why not? Remember?
Well, it's not a waste. I mean, you can always revert it.
You remember? What was the Sony Linux? Yellow Dog Linux, I think.
Oh, Yellow Dog was on old Macs. Oh, actually, you're right. I think they did have a version that ran on the PlayStation.
They had that supercomputer version where you could like run them all together.
Yeah, and didn't like the military
The
do
Air
that
Force.
or something?
It was the Air Force. They had like a really powerful supercomputer that cost less to build than your average supercomputer because it had like 500 freaking Sony PlayStations.
Which one was it? PS3s that they were doing?
It was
that with?
It was the twos, and then there was a version that would go with the threes, and then somebody had built one, but I don't think it was the military that did it. I think it was the military that did it with the twos.
Oh, that was the Cell processor. Was that their Sony's proprietary processor? I think. Anyway, it's an interesting read. Everything this guy went through to run Linux on a Dreamcast.
I've seen some pretty cool mods for like Dreamcast using the Raspberry Pi or the Raspberry Pi Pico. I think I showed you guys that one.
For the Dreamcast?
Was it for the Dreamcast or I think it was the Dreamcast.
I'm asking.
I think so. I don't know. It's been a couple of months since we found something interesting to do with the Pico.
I still haven't found. Well, I know lots of interesting.
Yours are still collecting dust.
No,
they're still. Mine. Don't feel bad.
Mine are still in the plastic. There's no dust.
Oh, they can't collect dust in the package.
Yeah, they never even come out of the bag. Out of the bag. So, how are they going to collect dust?
I hear you.
Oh, one more real quick. Do you have any old PowerPC? Anybody? PowerPC machines? Well, I guess by the silence, that's probably a no.
That's a distinct no.
You can run a modern operating system on PowerPCs called MorphOS, based on the proprietary Quark microkernel. It supports a range of G4 and G5 based Apple systems, as well as the Amiga 1500 and X5000. It supports Amiga OS applications via its JIT emulator. But, oh, okay, so this is not a open source operating system, actually. It costs 79 euros.
Yeah, if you're going into the Amiga world, you actually have to pay for OSs.
I guess so. I'm not up to Amiga information, so I don't know. I know nothing about it.
Well, the big deal for Amiga, and this includes for emulation, is in a lot of cases you're buying a ROM package because a lot of the Amiga stuff requires a
Physical media.
It requires a ROM code either in ROMs or installed in magic places in your emulator.
Well, you get a 30-minute trial with this. You could try it out before you fork over $79.
30-minute trial?
Mm-hmm. What else? What other operating systems are on PowerPC? Solaris? Is that one? I think.
Yellow Dog. That's what I had a long while back. I was trying to get a friend's PowerPC up and running because Mac just basically stopped doing updates to it and made it so the system just kind of dragged and wouldn't work properly anymore. So I tried Yellow Dog, and then I tried straight up Debian on it, and then I think I wound up having to revert it back to whatever the original operating system was.
I forgot about Debian.
Oh, good old Debian running on just about everything.
Yeah, that's right. That's all I got.
I got
Yeah,
nothing.
me too.
I need a nap.
Joe's playing his what is it called?
GamePie 20.
Pocket Pool?
Yeah, Pocket Pool. I'm playing Pocket Pool. You guys want to see?
Does it look like that bad
no.
Japanese mad scientist from Robotrix?
Only one way to know for sure.
It looks like a worm in a bird's nest.
And on that note, all right. Next recording date will be March 17th, 2023. Our music is Downright, provided by Klaatu and Broam. I'd like to thank Delwin for the use of his mumble server. Finally, I'd like to give a special thanks to Fatherfinch, Fweeb, Dave Morris, and Tony Beemus for their help and support over the years. I've been your host this evening, Honkey Magoo. With us tonight has been Joe.
Good night.
Lovecraft.
Good night, everybody.
Minnix.
Have a good night and a good weekend.
Morton C.
Good night.
And even though he said he was going to leave like half an hour ago, Netminer.
Well, I've been bouncing back and forth, and anyway, good night all, and goodness, my next show is the last one before I officially become an older person.
Oh, really? Your birthday?
Happy birthday.
Well, it will be after the next show, but this is the
Well, I'm telling you happy birthday now while I remember.
Netminer, what day is your birthday on? If you don't mind me asking, I'm gonna put it on my calendar.
I'd rather not have it recorded.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to, when we stop the recording, if you don't mind, I'd like to wish people happy birthday. I'm gonna get all your birthdays. I'm gonna record them down.
Oh yeah, when's my birthday?
I mean, after the show, you're gonna
Oh
tell
yeah,
me
when's
when
my
your birthday.
birthday?
You will tell me.
I'm gonna tell you.
And I will send you special pictures for your
Special
birthday.
pictures?
Yes.
I can take my own
Like-
special pictures. Thanks.
Like you need an excuse to send them your special pictures.
Right?
I'll be popping out of a cake.
There's a reason you're
in your
blocked on my
house.
phone.
There's besides, he's got his own special pictures.
Well, I'm sure he does.
Jackie is quite special picture worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And adventurous.
All right, just stop the show before we'll get off the rails here. Did you
We've
stop
been off
arguing?
rails.
Okay.
Yeah, this recording stopped.
Let me stop here.